Well, hello there, and welcome on in to another episode of Oh So Curious and DCU Daily. Of course, today we have, as always, got a lot to talk about. There were a couple of movies that came out this past weekend. We're going to get into both of them. Working Man. I'm not going to try to say it in Jason Statham voice. I wish John was here to do that. But, you know, I'm sure John will be here at some point to talk about it. We also have to talk about Death of a Unicorn, a Jenna Ortega movie. I think it also has Paul Rudd in it. That looked interesting. We'll get Lizz's review of that movie as well. We have to talk about, of course, that big YouTube fake trailer controversy that Deadline was investigating, and the studios were like, don't take the trailers off YouTube, just give us the ad revenue. Well, obviously, once the Deadline report came out, a lot of people out there were like, this looks sleazy and obviously deceptive. So, you know, we're going to talk about that as well. Of course, on the DC front, if you click the thumbnail, you know that we have to talk about Superman. There's some new artwork out. This week is CinemaCon week. We're going to talk all about what to expect at CinemaCon this week. We'll do our predictions, we'll do our preview, and we'll talk about Superman and all the news and the information that's out right now. New artwork, new rumors, you know, what are they going to talk about? Are they going to give us a new trailer this week? We'll get into that and other DC news, and then we'll look ahead to, of course, the movie where supposedly if you go see it in the movie theater, you'll get 5 minutes of Superman before the movie, and that is of course a Minecraft movie starring Jason Momoa and Jack Black. So we will talk about that and so much more to get the show started. Let's hit that intro, and then I'll bring Liz in after that, and you know, we'll get into the news. Well, hello again. And hello, Liz. How are you doing
Hello.
today?
I'm well. How are you? I just came back from 90s Con Gang. It's the first time I ever got to go to one right here in my home state. And boy, did it not disappoint. It was wonderful. It's probably the best con that I've ever been to. And I met Will Friedle. I met Batman. DC fans. We had a lovely time. It was great.
That's awesome. I've been like following your stuff on Facebook and seeing all the photos, and it's like every other, like you met Matthew Lillard. I recognize like every other person.
I met 35 celebrities in a day and a half.
Amazing.
It was a record for me. It was a banner day.
I mean, people talk about like Connecticut as if we don't have anything interesting going on, and you know what? For the most part, that is true. But
fun fact. So Will Friedle was born and raised in Connecticut. He was actually, he had said to me, he goes, yeah, I grew up 20 minutes from here, the convention center where we were at. He's like, I'm sleeping in my childhood bedroom for this weekend. And he was like, well, where are you from? I said, I'm from New Milford. He's like, oh, New Milford's great. I'm like, you don't know New Milford, Will Friedle. And he's like, I actually almost bought a home in your town. So Batman and I would have been neighbors, gang. Okay. Come on. It was pretty wild. I had a great time.
That is awesome. Hey, I'm is this like a one-time thing, or are they going to be back again in the future?
Oh no, this is I want to say this is like the 5th or 6th 90s con. It's just always fallen on a weekend that I just couldn't make it. So this is the first time I've been able to go, and a lot of these guys do come back because, again, like Will, for example, because it's his home state, right. He's down to clown, and it's a really calm, really, really nice, well-organized event. I've got to say, that's for entertainment, something like that, ran it. And I'm telling you, everybody was top notch. It was great. I had no issues whatsoever, no complaints at all. The staff was great. Really, really happy that I went, and I look forward to returning. It was fantastic.
That's awesome. And you know what? You're not the only person on my Facebook feed who went there this weekend.
I'm sure.
So I'm just seeing the photos, and like, this is one thing that I might put on my schedule to check out next year. But
well, and again, it's pure 90s. Right? It's pure 90s. So, anybody born after 2000 doesn't know what the shit I'm talking about. But yeah, so the guys from Scream that were there, Jamie Kennedy, Matthew Lillard, Skeet Ulrich, David Arquette, Dermot Mulroney, Tori Spelling. People forget Tori Spelling was in one of the Scream films. Rose McGowan. They were all there. They were also there, promoting their other things. So the entire cast of 90210 was there. Wilson Phillips was there. Mario Lopez, Elizabeth Berkley, Mark Paul Gosselaar from Saved by the Bell were there. Punky Brewster, Soleil Moon Frye was there. Robin and Rachel from the Craft films. Some people from Empire Records. Kel Mitchell was there, actually full on dressed as Kel from Good Burger, and was the character the entire weekend, which kind of gave me the ick. I'll be perfectly honest, because I've met him twice before outside of that caricature. Like, it was just him being normal one-on-one, and I'm like, that's really more what people want. Like, we don't want to be talked to as your character, but whatever. I hope he made a ton of money. All three of the Lawrence brothers were there. Again, like I said, Will Friedle, Ryder Strong, they were all there. The folks from Halloween Town, Judith Hogue, Kimberly J. Brown, and her husband, Kevin, I think his name is. I think that's everybody. It was just, and AJ McLean was there from the Backstreet Boys. So it was a wild, really fun time. Insane. And like I said, everything went off without a hitch. Like I said, I met 35 celebrities in a day and a half, which is an absolute record for me. Any of the other bigger venues, it wouldn't have gone down like that, but it was just a blast. It was great.
Nice. That is amazing. I mean, David Arquette, obviously everybody knew him in the 90s. I remember he did a whole thing with WCW, wrestling, and there was a movie that came out where he was in it, and then he went to actual WCW, and they actually had him win.
And he was taking pictures, putting fans in headlocks and shit like that. And I should say two Olympic athletes were there as well: Shannon Miller and Dominique Moncio from 1990 Olympics, something like that. The Olympic gymnast team, they won gold. That was the year that I'm blanking on her name. The gymnast broke her ankle and then still competed. It was very, the Russian trainers were all part of that. But yeah, so and I say all this to say I've met every single one of those people that I'm mentioning. So it was a wild day and a half, and one that I'm certainly never going to forget. And like I said, I can't wait to go back next year. So it was great. If you guys can get to a con, You'll be happy you did. It's really fun.
Oh, absolutely. That sounds amazing. That is, I'm like, there's at least a half a dozen names in there that I'm like, I would have loved to meet them. And I would have been starstruck even now. It's great.
And you'd love Dermot Mulroney. I was talking to his handler. Both he and Soleil Moon Frye will spend 10 minutes with each person. Like Soleil Moon Frye, I had to leave her. She wouldn't let me leave. It was pretty. I'm like, there are people in line. And she's like, no, it's just us. I'm like, but we need to go. But Dermot Mulroney, Dan, his handler was saying she's worked with him a number of times, and the staff are always asking, do you know if he has any preferences, and she's like, he needs black coffee the entire day and all of the cookies. And sure enough, he had a pile of chocolate chip cookies, and he just pounds black coffee all day. And I'm like, man after Dan's heart, really. All these little fun quirks you find out about your heroes. It's pretty great.
I can't have that much coffee in a day, but I'll take the cookies.
Well, at one point, I shared this on Facebook, and I'm sorry to be taking up so much time talking about this, but it makes me so happy. At one point, he left to use the restroom. He was unaccompanied. He did not have anybody with him. He didn't have anybody on staff. There was no security. He was just like, I'm just going to go to the restroom. It's right there. So we're all watching him walk away, obviously. Then we all watch him come back. Right. And he did not remember where his table was. Oh. So he walked by all of us as we're watching, and he's just walking down the show floor, and he's trying to figure out where we're all watching him be discombobulated and out of. It was so freaking hilarious. But again, it's they're real people too, gang. It was it was the best weekend. It was so much fun.
Yeah, well,
I have so many stories like that, but I won't. We'll have to save it for another time.
I'm a dude. She's a dude. We're all just. I would love to meet.
He went to a panel. He went to a Good Burger panel or some kind of. I think it was a Nickelodeon panel. He went to a panel and he came back. And again, he's dressed as Kel from Good Burger. He's got the hat on. He's got the dreads, everything. Yeah. And even as he's walking through the crowd, he's like, "How's it going? Hey man, how you doing?" It was it kind of gave me the ick, to be honest. But hey, you know,
I would have been all
make that money,
for
Cal.
me,
Make that money.
That's like I met Kel from Good Burger. I mean, because they had like the sequel come out like last year, 2 years ago. So not too. Yeah, it's anyway. Okay, well, I'm sure we'll have lots more to talk about, and you know, it will come up again. But right now we have to dive into the news to start the show. So I'm gonna hit that intro, and then we'll talk about CinemaCon on the other side, because CinemaCon begins today and is going all week. So there's so much to talk about. I mean, all the studios presenting. Yeah, we'll one day. But until then, we'll just kind of discuss what our expectations are, maybe what our predictions are for what every studio will present from Monday all the way through Friday. So to do that, let's hit the news intro, then we'll be right back.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always number two.
All right, Mr. I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding.
You're
kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Wow.
No, I always wonder when Chris Rock got slapped, did you like for a moment want to cry because like, you know, you tear up and everything? But anyway, I digress.
From sheer embarrassment, probably.
It was very
humiliation.
That was the one year where we did a live watch along of the Oscars, and we were like, wait, what happened? Because they're like also were censoring Will Smith, like shouting from the crowd before it.
Right.
And on the international broadcast, they weren't. So it was like a whole, like people had different experiences watching the moment. It was a whole zeitgeist kind of thing, which I mean, hey, you know what? If that's what brings the audiences for the Oscars, then that's what brings the audiences.
Well, and I think that was like the quickest like clip that was ever loaded to the internet, because it was like I immediately like was trying to Google like what happened, and right away I got the unedited clip from the international audiences. It was like, whoa, like I just
because the whole keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth wasn't ever aired in the US. They completely got rid of that. Whereas internationally, everybody heard it. Like, what? Like,
and you would think, but you would think though, as an academy, the moment that happened, like, why did they immediately jump to commercial and like regroup?
I think what it was is it's unprecedented. Like, you don't see that happening, and it's like when you're in the moment, because these guys producing a show, they're doing a live event, but they're not like used to producing an NFL game every week, right? So when an injury happens, it's like it's the whole thing. You gotta react in the moment. Cut to break, and then by the time you figure out what's going on, Will Smith's on the stage slapping Chris Rock, and you're like, oh well, that's great. Now it's happened. So now if you cut away, obviously that will look even worse. So you just see, okay, because imagine if Chris Rock ran after Will Smith, then they would have cut to commercial. But they were like,
probably if there was
let's see, he's holding it. So, but anyway, okay, let's talk about CinemaCon. That's what's happening this week and today. So I just wanted to kind of go over the schedule, because this is the start of the week. And Monday through Friday, CinemaCon happens. Now, as you can imagine, it's not just by the schedule alone. It's not happening on a weekend. It's happening from Monday all the way through Friday. So this is really, you know, not meant to be like a con in the sense that like the San Diego Comic-Con or any
it's a marketing.
Comic-Con.
It's like a what do they call those? Like a road show, a home show. It's all purely marketing. Yeah,
it's like a trade show, like a convention. It's really, CinemaCon is put on by what used to be known as NATO, the National Alliance of Theater Owners, which now they renamed it, so they're not confused, you know, with the other NATO.
With NATO, right?
They're now called Cinema United. So basically, you know, like Liz, you were telling me before the show, if you were like a theater manager or an owner of a you know, chain of theater screens such as AMC, but obviously there's a lot of smaller theaters out there, mom and pop owned ones as well.
Cinemark, Regal, Bowtie,
like those are the folks that usually go here, because the studios come out, they will like wine and dine all the distributors and all the production studios, they will wine and dine the movie theater owners and tell them like, hey, this is basically the product, the stories, the movies that we're bringing to the movie theater near you. There'll be companies that make equipment for the movie theaters, like projection technology and the latest and greatest in luxury seating for your movie theater, like new innovations and how to like make popcorn more buttery than ever, and put other kinds of crap into whatever, like your soda from the soda machine. There's all of that stuff as well, but obviously for us movie fans, what we really care about is like the main event presentations, which is where all those different movie studios present their upcoming year's slate. They will sometimes give you a whole movie screening, other times they'll just show you clips, they'll give you a preview, maybe a featurette. They will even trot out the cast members, the directors of some of their movies. And so in that way, those presentations feel like you'd be at a Comic-Con where it's all about the fans. But like that's not entirely what CinemaCon is, but it's part of what CinemaCon does. So I wanted to go through the schedule, and then we'll kind of stop and kind of talk about each of the studio presentations. And then, by the end of it, hopefully we'll have some idea of like, what are we expecting? And maybe we can even make a few predictions along the way. So today being Monday, Liz, the first big presentation of the day. Now, of course, they have a bunch of stuff as I just scroll past. But the first studio presentation of the week, I should say, is going to be Sony Pictures. And Sony Pictures is not only, they have a pre-event cocktail reception, so they're going to, like I said, wine and dine you literally, and then they will present to you. So Sony Pictures is going to be presenting in the evening, and these times are all Pacific time because this takes place in Las Vegas. So, like 8:45, like 6:30 is when it starts, which for us on the East Coast is 9:30 p.m. So having said that, Sony presenting the first studio, and then they have another event after, which goes all the way to 11, which is more of like an after party, like I said, Dre's nightclub. So I'm sure not everybody will go there. But Liz, talking about Sony, between now and this time next year, everything that comes out from Sony Pictures is what they're going to be talking about. So I want to quickly pull up a little bit of, what Sony has on their calendar, and let's talk about what we might expect for them to discuss at this event, right? Now, the big movie that Sony has left on their schedule for this year, it's not the only one, but it's Karate Kid Legends. And then they have 28 Years Later. Wait. I feel like those two are the biggest ones. Yeah. So my question to you would be, how much are we going to be able to see from these two movies? Because so far, both movies have put out trailers. Do you think they give us more trailers, more behind the scenes footage? Are they going to bring any of the actors out, directors maybe?
I would imagine they'll probably have a panel with the actors and director. They might give us, like a 5-minute, 10-minute snippet. I know sometimes they will do full-on premieres. They'll show the entire film. I don't know if that'll be the case for either one of these. It might just be too early in the year for that. But both have started. 28 Years Later, we know, has been marketed really heavily already. Karate Kid, you're seeing a lot of trailers out now ahead of films and stuff. But I would say they're really, really leaning on 28 Years Later for sure at the moment. I Know What You Did Last Summer has not really been talked about at all. There certainly isn't any marketing out for it just yet. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of time they spend with that, if really at all at CinemaCon. But that's another title that if I were them, I would try to lean heavily on that, because that's something that they're obviously hoping everything's going to succeed, but you would think something along those lines, this reboot, they're going to put all their eggs in that basket. So who knows, we might hear a lot more about that particular project.
Yeah, and then I'm also seeing Anaconda being like the big Sony movie that comes out in the latter half of the year. That's something they'll probably, because we haven't seen much from that. So I imagine they will talk about that and maybe give us some insight into it. And then 28 Years Later has a sequel scheduled for next year, directed by Nia DaCosta. So they might even tell us a little bit of what they have in mind for the sequel to 28 Years Later, which is obviously.
Yeah, I don't know that I like that. I feel like the whole not mystery, but the whole the ethos surrounding that franchise is the fact that we have so much time in between each production. So I feel like they're making a big mistake by releasing a sequel to that right away. I could see them maybe doing like a show, kind of along the lines of Walking Dead, but I don't know, like that to me, that immediately just screams cash grab to me, and that bothers me. But that's my initial reaction to seeing that.
What I'll say to that is, though, it's kind of hard to, like, you did 28 days, 28 weeks, and then Did they skip 28 months, or did they just, so they went from 28
I think
weeks
it was
to
28 days, 28 months. And then
months?
28,
Okay.
I don't think there was weeks. I don't know. But
Okay.
I didn't, I'll be honest, I didn't see them.
But
So.
I'm thinking, like, where do you go from, like, I feel like from here we're gonna do like 28 decades or 20, I don't know. So like I
Right.
suppose you're kind of like stuck from like now you got like something a little bit different. So now that's not obviously none of those things I feel like are the biggest thing that Sony could be giving us, because not only do they have Jumanji 3, Resident Evil, now they announced a Legend of Zelda movie that's going into production at some point within the next 12 months, but the untitled, as of yet to be titled, Spider-Man sequel, basically Spider-Man 4 in the MCU. Now granted, people are like, well, that's an MCU movie. Well, it is an MCU movie, but it actually is really a Sony movie. Marvel Studios produces them, but Sony is the one that owns the property, and then they're the ones who distribute it. And obviously they have a revenue sharing, deal on the back end. But
right,
if you were to hear about the Spider-Man sequel, your chances are it's going to be at the Sony presentation, less likely to be at the Disney presentation. So with that in mind, I mean, Liz, they're going to be filming Spider-Man 4 later this year after Tom Holland finishes working on the Odyssey. So they haven't started rolling cameras yet. We really don't have much of an idea what the story is going to be. There's rumors out there. We, of course, had that huge Avengers announcement, the Doomsday cast, and we didn't get to see Tom Holland's name on any of those directors' chairs. So we are not really sure if Tom Holland is actually going to be in the movie or not. So my question to you would be, do you think we're going to get any level of insight for Spider-Man 4 at this year's event, or do you think it's too early for them to talk about it?
I think it might be too early, especially like, I mean, we just had the announcement, we're going to talk about this later too, but like we just had the announcement of the casting of Mikey Madsen for Resident Evil. So like, I feel like the little bits of news we're hearing are the projects that they're going to be talking about, because they've already started kind of putting some information out there. Whereas with this, I think who knows if they even are sure exactly what direction they're going with themselves, like, because it even says after Doomsday. So like, we've got to get through Doomsday first, and then we'll see where we're at with that. So I don't expect them to be talking much about that. Again, The Legend of Zelda, they just announced it, so they'll probably lean into that a little bit. But again, I'm not there, I'm not invited, so it's all speculation. Who knows?
Yeah, well, okay, so that's the Sony presentation. So that's tonight. That's Monday. Now let's keep going down the schedule. So let's get to Tuesday. Tuesday is the one for all of us DC fans watching, all of you guys who watch DCU Daily. That's the day for Warner Brothers. Now, there's 2 studio presentations on Tuesdays. The first one is in the morning from 9 a.m. to 11:30. You'll get a presentation from Lionsgate. There's a State of the Industry presentation, and then there's a Lionsgate presentation. So Lionsgate, of course, is one of I guess you could still consider them a mid-major studio. They're not really, they don't operate at the same scale as a Disney or Warner Brothers, but they're obviously a big name in the business. So when you look at the movies that they've got on the horizon, a bunch of these movies that you're seeing here, they've already come out, but they've still got, I think they've got obviously Ballerina coming out. They've got another John Wick movie in the works. Saw 11 recently got taken off the schedule, but they replaced the movie slot in the release schedule with Strangers Chapter 2. The Michael movie has been pushed back because they're virtually refilming the whole thing, because that whole debacle. If you guys are not aware of what happened, just look up Michael movie and you'll see the state of Michael Jackson really effed up, and now are having to pay to basically reshoot the whole movie. So among all of these projects, Ballerina, The Strangers Chapter 2 are definitely coming out this year. Saw 11 seems to be kind of in limbo now, and Michael is going back to shoot more stuff. So do you think we're going to get more Ballerina and The Strangers Chapter 2 information? Do you think we're going to get another trailer? Maybe a screening? Because could it be a surprise screening coming our way, maybe?
It'll probably be a surprise screening of Ballerina. They're leaning really heavily on that right now as one of, they're the only projects they're really talking about in advertising. But there's been a lot of really positive buzz about it. I know John Wick stans like myself are really looking forward to this film. So I would imagine, if anything, I mean, the smart move for me would be if they did do a surprise screening and show the whole thing, which I know they have historically done in the past before. That would be the one that I would want to put out there for sure. But you never know.
I mean, and this movie is so close to release, it's pretty much at this point done.
Right, like it wouldn't be an issue. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So unlike Superman, which feels like they might still be kind of like editing it, for example, and it's not quite finalized, this one is done. And Keanu Reeves is a huge part of the film now. They went in and did a lot of additional photography, and the events of this movie take place between John Wick 3 and 4.
Right.
So it's not like charting new ground beyond John Wick 4, but it looks interesting. I mean, Ana de Armas is a big star. I wouldn't be surprised if either Ana de Armas or Keanu Reeves are out there to, like, talk up the movie in person. But then if you go further down, Now You See Me 3 is also meant to come out later this year. And then I think they have, originally the Strangers Chapter 3 was going to come out pretty close to Chapter 2. I don't know if that's still the case. But the other big two movies that we were talking about, one of them being what would, I guess, be the next movie in the John Wick franchise, is John Wick Chapter 5. And then the next Hunger Games prequel, Sunrise
which
on the
the book was just released. The hardcover book of that was just released in stores. So they're going to be hyping the shit out of that up. I mean, no matter what, it's a moneymaker. There's still a hardcore Hunger Games stands out there. I mean, I read the books every time a new film comes out. I'm going to be picking up this book the next time I'm in stores. So they're going to make some bank off of that as well. So it would make sense for them to try and market it as soon as humanly possible and create a lot of buzz ahead of time.
Yeah, and then they've got, like, In the Gray, which stars Rosamund Pike and Henry Cavill and Isa Gonzalez, that a Guy Ritchie movie. I wouldn't mind seeing some of that. The Housemaid 100%. With Sydney Sweeney. I mean, there's that one, and then of course Highlander. Highlander is currently in production with Chad Stahelski and Henry Cavill.
Can't wait.
I wouldn't mind seeing a featurette of that one. Like a behind the scenes look at what they've been filming so far.
For sure.
Yeah, but I mean, Lionsgate obviously, as you can tell, they've got a packed schedule, so they probably have a lot to show us. Now, moving on to the next one, let me kind of scroll back up to my schedule here. Now, that's again the morning presentation from Lionsgate. But then as you get into more of the evening hours, Warner Brothers does their big presentation. They're the main event of the night. They go from 4:30 to 6:30 Pacific time. Now, of course, it's Warner Brothers, so they're going to have DC stuff, but they obviously have more beyond just that. So far this year, they've released Companion Mickey 17, but then on the horizon, they have The Accountant 2. And then they have the Alternatives already came out. So The Accountant 2 and a Minecraft movie are the next two that are closest to release. A Minecraft movie comes out literally this week, so it'll be days away. So, I mean, Liz, do you expect them to potentially just do a full screening of Minecraft movie at this point? Because
I do, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jack Black didn't show up. And I mean, you know him; he'll do anything
Jason
the studios
Momoa.
ask him. Yeah, maybe Jason, but Jack's going to be there. No, I fully expect a full screening of the Minecraft movie. They might even screen The Accountant 2. It comes out this coming month, so there's a good possibility of that as well. There's been so much hype about that. People are so excited for this film. I personally am very excited for this film. So it's been a couple of years now. So The Accountant 2 is going to be a major one for them. And I don't see why they wouldn't do a screening, just so they can really generate buzz and make sure that it's being marketed the way they want it. So that would be my guess. But again, I don't get to make these decisions. So who knows?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, because again, The Accountant 2 is so close. I mean, either that or Minecraft, show it to us. But given that they're putting potentially 5 minutes of Superman ahead of Minecraft, maybe they just choose to showcase The Accountant 2 instead, because that one might need a bit more of a bump, because it looks like Minecraft already has had a pretty big push. So that's not obviously all of it, because Warner Brothers has a pretty packed schedule this year. So you got Sinners coming out. Yes. Sinners looks amazing. That's Ryan Coogler. And then, of course, Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld. Then you have Final Destination's Bloodlines, which, Liz, last week John and I talked about. The Final Destination Bloodlines trailer did over 178 million views, which was like the second highest horror movie.
People love these movies. I mean, this is a beloved franchise. It doesn't matter what the storyline is. It doesn't matter what they've changed about it. This is a beloved franchise. They're always going to have butts and seats, always.
And I wouldn't mind if they kind of did a bit of a tribute to Tony Todd along the way as well.
Right.
And now F1 is an Apple film, but Warner Brothers is distributing it. So since Warner Brothers is distributing it, I don't know if they will actually talk about it or not, because it's not really their movie. but I wouldn't mind seeing something about it, because this might
I'm
end
sure
up
there's
being
going to
one of
be
the surprises
something
of the
about it.
year.
I mean, you know, Brad having his own production company, Plan B, I'm sure he's a part of it in that regard. I know when they had initially started filming, like when he basically, you know, signed on the dotted line to be a part of that project, he's extremely passionate about it. So he had started talking it up right from the very beginning. So it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't spend a little bit of time on it. I mean, basically at Brad's request, even if they didn't think that was one that they needed to talk about. But knowing how involved he is in this project and how passionate he is about it, I don't see them, you know, kind of leaving it to the wayside. So at the very least, they'll bring it up and they'll have something to say about it.
Yeah.
And he might show up himself and talk about, you know, the process of training and
that would be amazing.
You know, the logistics of shooting something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, especially because we're gonna get to the schedule, but I don't think I saw Apple original films anywhere. So if Apple's not presenting, then I mean, this would be the place for them to talk about F1 with Warner Brothers, because they're distributing the movie. But of course, I think it's no secret that the movie that has the most pressure, the biggest burden of expectations.
Yeah.
It's and the movie that quite frankly matters more to Warner Brothers than any other movie this year is Superman. And Superman kicks off an entire new cinematic universe for DC. They've been putting out, you know, it's a slow trickle, but they've been putting out new promo artwork we're going to talk about later in the show. They've had a trailer come out in December. We're waiting to see, hopefully, another trailer soon. We know they're potentially, look, we don't know for sure, but a theater chain in Thailand was advertising that you would get 5 minutes of Superman before Minecraft if you went to see it in IMAX. I bet you if they are doing something like that in Thailand, that's going to end up being the case everywhere else. So again, this movie has such a huge amount of expectation, and so there's a lot of pressure for it to succeed. So Liz, given that it's been roughly 3 months now, because it was late December that the first trailer came out, which was more of a teaser trailer, didn't really tell us much about the story. It just showed us the characters, the atmosphere, the world of this movie. Do you think that they will release a new trailer for Superman, which is the speculation for the most part on the internet? And then do you think they might even give us the first 5 minutes that people will otherwise have to wait to go see in front of Minecraft? Like, or is it possible that they might screen this whole thing and we get the whole movie, but people, at least for the people who are there?
Yeah, I've got mixed feelings about that one. I mean, I figure if they're already putting out the first 5 minutes for Minecraft, it's no skin off their nose if they put it out for this. I would absolutely expect a different trailer, a new trailer to come out. As far as screening the entire thing, it would be a gamble. I think it would pay off for them if they did do that. I know, you know, I guess they've been showing it to some test audiences already who are saying, you know, very favorable things about it. So it might just be, you know, a smart move for them to do that. I don't know that they're willing to give it all away just yet. But certainly, you know, like I said, they're already putting out that 5 minutes this coming weekend, so it would make sense for them to at the very least show something like that. But you know, you just never know.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, if they are indeed putting that 5 minutes of the movie, whether it's the first 5 minutes or a 5 minute portion of the film ahead of Minecraft, I think that's most likely what they'll also do at CinemaCon. But obviously, that's something they'll probably not just put out on YouTube straight away. So that's not going to be available to the average audiences to figure out.
Right.
We'll just have to read like descriptions of what people saw there. So I think in addition to that, they do need at this point to release a new trailer. So if they don't actually do that at CinemaCon, which I really hope they do, but if they don't, then I think the next point for the next time would be the NBA playoffs, because Warner Brothers has a lot of NBA rights through TNT. In the past, they've used that as an opportunity to do a lot of tie-ins with their movies. So if they don't give us a full trailer at CinemaCon, I'd imagine that's going to be something we'll get probably, you know, whenever the NBA playoff. Well, the NBA playoffs are only a few weeks away, but I'm guessing it's not going to be like the first round games. They're going to probably wait till you get to like the more like the later rounds, whether it's the conference finals or the NBA finals. But yeah, I mean, it's also a matter of like, it's been 3 months. Like so I don't know if they want to wait another month to put out a trailer. So that's where I'm thinking either give us the 5 minutes or give us the trailer. The people need to walk away, as in, and when I say the people, I mean like us average
marketers,
folks, not the people who are just at CinemaCon. They need to obviously make a big splash for all the theater owners, because the theater owners need to like love the shit out of this movie and promote the heck out of it, because the Warner Brothers needs them to. DC Studios needs them to. James Gunn said that they'll be there. Like James Gunn will be there. Most likely Peter Safran will be there. They might even bring David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan and Nicholas Hoult, and who knows, maybe even Nathan Fillion, who recently celebrated his birthday. So with all of that, I really hope they also put out a trailer for all the fans who can't be at CinemaCon, because that's gonna, further drive the hype train into overdrive. So with that, of course, there's a few other ones I want to kind of quickly mention: the Spinal Tap 2, The Conjuring Last Rites, One Battle After Another, which just put out a trailer, and then Mortal Kombat 2, which comes out this year. I hope we get a first trailer for Mortal Kombat 2. That's one that I actually wouldn't be surprised to see, and I would love it, because they put out that image of Carl Urban as Johnny Cage, and I'm just like, I don't care if the movie sucks. The first one did. I'll just be there to watch Carl Urban. Like, that's all I didn't.
You know what? I didn't hate the first one, honestly. So it's fine with me. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And then the Wuthering, whatever.
Wuthering Heights,
which I think it's filming right now. And apparently there were some photos recently of Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. They were caught, I think it was in London. They were kind of walking out of a restaurant. So they've been filming this movie. So I hope maybe we get some insight into that as well, because that comes out next year. Then they have the Cat in the Hat. And there's a bunch of other ones that, smaller projects that we'll probably talk about. But I think the big ones that they will discuss is Superman, probably F1, unless Apple is doing their own thing. Final Destinations, Bloodlines. They will definitely talk about Mortal Kombat 2, and then Sinners will probably get a big presentation for. And Minecraft and the Alta Knights is already out, but Minecraft and The Accountant 2 we'll probably either get new trailers, an inside look, maybe Ben Affleck pops in, maybe Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler gets on stage. So that will be all very, very interesting. I would love to also see if Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi are presenting, because all the controversy around they might be getting fired. If they're out there talking about the movies for Warner Brothers Pictures, then that means David Zaslav is like, you guys are good. Keep doing what you're doing. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Tom Cruise comes out and talks about one of his upcoming movies with Warner Brothers. He's got an office on the lot, so that would be nice as well. So, all right, let's keep the ball going here, because we have so many more studios. Now we get into Wednesday, and Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday morning, you're going to get Angel Studios presenting from 8 to 9 a.m. Angel Studios is more of a smaller studio, but they've been putting out quite a few movies in recent years.
Yeah,
I forget what was they've put out some stuff that's good, some a little bit controversial, but
yeah,
I don't imagine there's a bunch here that most people would be interested in. So we're not going to really spend a ton of time here. If you guys know or are excited about any of the Angel Studios upcoming movies, then let us know down in the comments below. But we're just going to keep rolling here, because I personally don't have any interest in talking about it.
Well, and they're one of those studios that's really good about like crowdfunding. Like they arrange buses to bring people to their theaters. They put up QR codes so you can buy tickets so other people can go and see it. So they're gonna market heavily at this thing for sure. But again, they touch on subject matters that are controversial and quite subjective. So yeah, there's really nothing. I mean, anything that we would see on this list is probably not anything anyone has heard of and won't hear about until, they see a trailer or two here or there, but it's not going to be anything impactful.
Yeah. Nothing that we would consider a blockbuster, but hey, it's another studio presentation. If you guys are at CinemaCon, this is how you can, start your day. Get a coffee, go and sit in the hall and watch them present with the Angel Studios. Now, once they're done, the folks over at CinemaCon then get a bit of a treat for waking up that early, because then they can go to another auditorium and they'll be able to then watch essentially the entirety of How to Train Your Dragon, the new live action remake.
Great. That's so great.
I'm like, it's still a bit early, even if you skip the Angel Studios presentation, because it's 9:30 a.m. So
hey, that's when I used to start watching films, when the schedule was better. Yeah. But I mean, why not?
But I mean,
great way to start the day.
It looks amazing so far. We were talking about the posters they put out, all the different dragon character posters they put out last week, and John and I were John, like, as you know, isn't like a big fan of it just because it's a live action remake. I'm like, look, of all the live action remakes, this looks like actually it's one of the better.
We could do worse. Yeah, we could do worse.
You could do so much worse. I mean, for example, Snow White. But How to Train Your Dragon, people who are at CinemaCon will get a chance to see the whole movie. So I imagine that we'll start to get more, buzz around the film. Like we'll get reactions, people talking about, is it good, is it bad, oh my god, this is blowing away all expectations. So we'll get to see that. Then later in the day, there's a bunch of other presentations, but then after lunch at 3:45 p.m. they'll have the Universal Pictures and Focus Features presentation. So it's a combined presentation. They're all under the same umbrella at Comcast. Now, Focus Features, of course, had one or two movies at the Oscars this year that were nominated. I forget if it was it The Brutalist was Focus Features? Was that it? I know Universal.
I believe it was Focus. I think that's right.
Yeah. And then Universal, of course, had The Wild Robot, through DreamWorks. So both of these studios will be presenting together, which is to be expected. Now, let me kind of pull up what's on the Universal Studios calendar for this year. So Dogman already came out. Wolfman already came out. A lot of movies. But then you have Love Hurts, which already came out. Bridget Jones came out. So upcoming, they have Megan 2.0, right? That's not come out yet. How to Train Your Dragon is obviously one that we've talked about. They already would have played that for people, so we will probably get more updates regarding that, but not necessarily like a ton more, because people have, at that point would have seen the movie for CinemaCon, that is. And then we get The Bad Guys 2, which is a sequel to The Bad Guys, the animated movie. But the big centerpiece for their presentation, I imagine, is going to be Jurassic World Rebirth. I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you think we're going to get a full trailer, maybe a behind-the-scenes featurette? Do they trot out Scarlett Johansson, Jonathan Bailey, even Marshall Ali,
probably.
Edwards?
Yeah.
Like all of these names. I mean, these are stars. Like this is the big movie of the year for Universal. This is going to be $1 billion movie. So how much do you think they give us for this? Do they tell us what the franchise plans are? Because this is the start of a whole new trilogy, I imagine. Right.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to set the tone. They're going to kind of tell you what of the direction that the trilogy is going to go into, because it's also introducing a brand new cast to this franchise. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't trot out some of the actors for it, for sure. I don't expect them to show the full film. Possibly we'll get a new trailer, because they have been showing the first one since the Super Bowl, so for a full month and a half now. So maybe, but I really don't. Again, I expect them to talk it up a lot, but I don't know that, like, maybe they'll focus more on like the CGI aspect of it, the special effects aspect of it, but I don't expect that they're going to show the full film, not yet.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we're gonna get probably a couple of the stars of the movie, maybe the director out there talking about it and answering questions. But then beyond that, they still have a few other ones. They've got the Downton Abbey finale to that whole series of movies, the grand finale.
Yep.
Nobody 2 looks exciting. I mean, the first one did so well. I would love to see if Bob Odenkirk and Connie Nielsen and Sharon Stone show up, because this is a movie that like flew on. The first one flew under everybody's radar. Then they were like, you know what? It's not actually just a John Wick ripoff. I mean, it is, but it's in some ways even better. So like Nobody 2, I'm sure is going to do well. So I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes another surprise screening even, or they certainly give us a trailer, because I don't think we've seen much from this movie at all.
No, not yet. No.
So yeah, I mean, and then Michael is another movie that they're partly involved in, one of several studios. So again, I don't know if they're going to provide an update for that. But then the Black Phone 2 is another one. So like that would be nice. And then Lizz, of course, we have to talk about Wicked for Good. You know why? Because over the course of this weekend, I saw that they actually have a whole standee poster, like what would be considered the very first poster for Good out there in Las Vegas, where the
again, they advertised the first one for a full year. I don't see why they would ever stop the momentum of that train. So I have a feeling that CinemaCon is going to be the start of their next marketing campaign, and we're going to be force fed this damn sequel for the next 12 months and or however many there's, 10, 9 months, whatever. But I mean, again, I doubt, like, the movie is obviously not complete yet. I'm sure they're doing editing and what have you, but they're definitely going to be, I'm sure Ariana and Cynthia are going to be there in their pink and green and holding hands and crying and fucking supporting one another through this, artistry and whatever the shit I'm sick of it already. They might come out and sing some fucking songs, probably. I mean, good for them. They're making all the money. They won a couple Oscars. Good for them. Whatever. But yeah, this is the beginning of hopefully the end. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
If you go off the poster, they've already got a tagline: "You will be changed after watching the movie." So get ready, because the Wicked for Good is probably gonna make a pretty decent splash at the Universal Studios presentation. Then, of course, they have to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's 2, where the first movie was surprisingly okay, from what I heard. So we're probably gonna get.
Yeah, I heard most people liked it.
Yeah, it wasn't something that blew everybody away. But then, I mean, the Super Mario Bros. Movie sequel is also scheduled now for the 2026 window. So I don't know if that falls close enough to like this year, like, so they talk about it, because obviously the next CinemaCon will happen after the movie would have potentially already been released. So that might be something that, you know, most people are not expecting, but they might give us an update on that. Obviously, the first movie was the second highest grossing movie the same year that Barbie came out and took the top spot. So yeah, people are going to be interested in talking about what this next Super Mario Bros. Movie is, especially at a time when, you know, Sony's going to be talking about the Legend of Zelda live action film. So all these Nintendo properties are hot right now. And then, of course, Steven Spielberg has another Amblin movie that he's got in the works with Emily Blunt, Coleman Domingo, Eve Hewson, that doesn't have a title yet. I believe that's like a UFO conspiracy thriller. So that's the first time, you know, Spielberg has done that genre in years. So maybe they talk about that. There's another Minions movie coming out next year. And then, of course, Liz, this presentation is going to be long, because look at we're not even done. Like, they have to talk about probably the Odyssey, which every other day we find like more behind the scenes photos, because they're shooting everything on location. So people are snapping up photos every day, and they're traveling to like every country in the Mediterranean. I think right now they're filming in Greece. So they were in Italy, then they went to Greece. So maybe they tell us about that. Jordan Peele has another movie with Universal on the horizon. And of course, Liz, do you think we're gonna get something from Shrek 5?
Maybe a trailer, maybe a teaser. Again, I think there's going to be a shit ton of hype around this. People are already talking about it. I hope they make those course corrections and they fix the awful special CGI Pixar, whatever the shit we're calling it, DreamWorks animation. Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the first four films. Why on earth they would pivot so far?
So the early ones look like purposefully janky now.
Yeah, it's like they were on a bender for the past 20 years. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? But I mean, and who knows? Maybe that's the feedback that they'll get from CinemaCon. Everybody will say to them, like, why did you do that? Like, why did you make that call? Put it back. Who knows? But I mean, at least I hope people do their due diligence and take them to task for it. But yeah, it's a hell of a lot. It's a whole, I mean, it was, and again, Fast X, friggin' there's a new Riddick movie out. Like, what are we doing here? Wow.
Now, it might be a little early to talk about Fast X Part 2, because that probably doesn't come out till summer of next year, and then Riddick as well. So now we're in the Voltron movie that they've got on the horizon, which I think is another Henry Cavill property.
Yep, Henry,
So now we're getting to the list of movies that are probably a little too far away for this year's CinemaCon, but I do hope we get at least something from Shrek 5. And then, of course, Wicked for Good, the Minions movie. You've got the Super Mario Bros. Sequel. What is that Steven Spielberg movie? Maybe we get a title for that UFO conspiracy thriller. Five Nights at Freddy 2. Wicked for Good. Of course, the Black Phone 2, which, Ethan Hawke coming back, and Scott Derrickson, who's worked with the studio on the Jurassic World movies, now, going back to his horror roots and doing a second Black Phone movie. And then Nobody 2, The Bad Guys 2, a lot of sequels. Jurassic World Rebirth and How to Train Your Dragon, which by the time we get to this presentation, people would have already seen it at CinemaCon, because they are doing a screening of How to Train Your Dragon. So lots and lots of movies for Universal and Focus Features. But then, as we wrap up the day, there's a dinner party after the event, and then you can still, if you have any more energy left in you, having started the day with Angel Studios literally 12 hours before, you can then walk into the Coliseum casino level and again see what would be, I guess, the third studio presentation for the day. So a packed Wednesday. And Amazon MGM Studios, this is a new entity from a business perspective, because back before the merger, MGM, I think, has done presentations there. Amazon hasn't done anything there before. But now that they're Amazon MGM Studios, they've got James Bond, of course, and all these other franchises, this is the first year that Amazon MGM Studios is able to and will be presenting at CinemaCon. So when you look at their schedule of movies, sorry, go ahead.
Well, before we go, how many more studios are we getting through here? Because I'm just saying we're only at Wednesday and we're already a half hour into this conversation. Are we really going to go through every single one right now?
Have a couple of more
it's
days.
only Monday. Okay, I'm just saying we can save it for later on in the week if we need to.
We absolutely can. But so there, and honestly, there's not a ton to discuss with Amazon MGM because like they've got another Simple Favor coming out, which is a sequel to a Simple Favor,
which is already getting controversy. And I mean, there people are already saying Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively can't stand one another. Anna Kendrick won't really talk much about it. They're doing press, but Anna's being dragged out reluctantly. And I mean, listen, it's getting a lot of buzz, and all no news is bad news, and I loved the first film, so I'll be seeing this one myself, but it'll be interesting to see how they talk about it, how they present it, and what stars, if any, they have come out to promote it, because it's a rough road ahead for them, unfortunately.
It's gonna be interesting. I mean, and then there's a few other ones too. They've got like Deep Cover, which I'm not really sure what it's about. G20, which I think is a streaming movie, so I don't know if they're going to talk about that, because that's the Viola Davis movie where she plays the president and she goes to the G20 meeting, and all the other head of states somehow get kidnapped, I suppose, and she's the one to save the day. Who knows? I mean, very American, like, oh yay, America. Anyway,
I mean, I'm for it.
The Accountant 2, of course, which we already talked about, so maybe Amazon MGM presents that one. So there's that will wrap up your day. And then if you're not tired enough, then I don't know, go to a bar after that. But then we get into Thursday, and after what is a Marathon Wednesday, it's a little slower. You don't have to go to every event. They have like a few things like a trade show suite where you can go see all these technologies, whether it's D-Box or Samsung and Sharp presenting all their latest innovations. But then, Liz, that morning's big presentation is Paramount Pictures. Of course, Paramount Pictures is known to be one of the best at presenting at CinemaCon and bringing out like some of the best material and giving out a lot of good information and bringing out the stars and just giving an overall great presentation. So Paramount Pictures, which right now is in the process of being acquired by Skydance, finds itself in a pretty precarious position, but they've already put out Novocaine, which was a great movie this year, and now the big movie of the year for them is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. So do you think Tom Cruise shows up, because knowing that how much he values the cinematic experience?
Absolutely. Yes.
I would say it's not. I mean, he's going to show up, I believe. Then he's also going to bring Christopher McQuarrie, the director, with him, and probably some of the other cast members alongside
I would expect we might get a second trailer as well, because again, we've been seeing the trailer since, around Christmas time. I think it was before the Super Bowl that they showed the first. So we're definitely due for another trailer. Maybe they'll show some clips. I mean, it's Tom Cruise, so knowing him, he might show the whole damn film, because he's just one of those guys that he's just amped up about anything that he's a part of. He goes full bore. He's going to act like it's the greatest thing that's ever been put out on film. They might show some behind the scenes stunts that he does. I mean, remember with the first with Dead Reckoning, they showed the damn motorcycle stunt off the mountain. Before every film. I mean, it was like before the Minions film, we're watching how he did that stunt for, you know what I mean? Like we couldn't get away from that stunt. So I would expect they're gonna pick a stunt out of this one and do the exact same thing with it, which to me, you kind of lose the mystery. You kind of lose the excitement. Yeah, because oh yeah, this is the thing that I've already seen 500 fucking times before the film.
The novelty of it goes away.
Yeah, and just like the excitement and the absolute awe of it, because now I've seen how the sausage is being made, so it doesn't taste as great. You know what I mean? So
no, I get it.
But Tom Cruise can't help himself, and you know what? Again. As I've said, this is the only reason he should ever leave the house. So I'll let him have it. Go ahead. But I fully expect him to show up. He he is a salesman. He loves to market the shit out of his projects. Again, he treats every single project as if it's the greatest thing he's ever done in his entire life, regardless of what it is. So I do not expect anything less this time around, and I'm sure he's going to be there. And and he'll charm everybody like he does, and probably add a few more people's names to his list of coconut Christmas cakes, and good for them, good job, Tom. Get out there.
By the way, I think the stunt they're gonna show us more of in the first trailer, they sort of show half of it where he's hanging off a plane, but then there's another plane, and then at some point in the trailer he's on the other plane.
Well, I know there is also when he is underwater, like he supposedly almost died, like he did genuinely stop breathing,
he was underwater
and had to be resuscitated. So he might talk about that too, because he's literally putting his life on the line. So yeah, we've got any number of sons to pick from with Tom Cruise. So it could be all.
I'm like, if you want to save it, save it. But if they show me the stunt where he jumps from one plane to another, like for real in this, that would be. Yeah, that would be the ultimate mic drop.
That's what we're going to see. We're going to see 500 of those. We're going to see it 6 million times. It'll be before. It's going to be before the Mega Minions. I mean, it's going to be before. It doesn't matter what project it is. He's going to show it to us, and we're going to have to sit there and watch it. And again, that's fine. It's very impressive. Very good, Tom. Nice job. I'm glad it all worked out and you survived and everything's great. And you paid your stunt crew a shit ton of money. That's wonderful. I hope they all get a nice fat check. But Jesus Christ, man.
I mean, and then you have okay. So then you have the Smurfs movie, which comes out in July. It was
which, you know what?
Movies.
I can't stand the Smurfs, but I liked the first trailer I've seen. It makes no sense to me that Rihanna is Smurfette, but okay. I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna fucking see it. They got me. They got me with the trailer. Those, gosh darn it.
I mean,
I'm watching it so you guys don't have to.
I don't know if I'm gonna watch it. But then the Naked Gun, there's a new movie coming out with Liam Neeson, Paul Walter Hauser, Pamela Anderson. That's gonna be
hilarious.
Good. Yeah, I can't wait for that.
That's gonna be hilarious.
I
Liam
hope
Neeson,
they give us
get
a
out of
trailer.
Here. That's gonna be great.
Liam Neeson's comedic timing is underrated, so I really hope they give us a trailer for that one. Then of course you have The Running Man, and then Now You See Me.
Hold on, you skipped over Roof Man, which just the title alone automatically made me think it was a Jason Statham project. I just want to point that out. But is it
one of the books from that series that he has started now? I don't know. That'd be too quick. But Channing Tatum and Juno Temple sounds good to me. Then you have The Running Man. I mean, so many man movies again. There's another SpongeBob movie, Search with SquarePants, which I've heard about. So maybe we'll get a little more about that. Now You See Me 3, we talked about before. It's a co-production with another studio. And The Last Airbender just signed on Steven Yeun. Dave Bautista's already on the voice cast. So I would imagine they're going to talk about that, what their plans are for that franchise as a whole.
Yeah.
But these are animated movies, but they're theatrically released movies that are going to follow the cast from the Avatar The Last Airbender series, because they are developing a sequel to The Legend of Korra as a TV show that's animated, but these will be animated movies for the big screen. So that will be interesting to see where they're going with that. Paw Patrol 3 for all the kids out there. Scream 7, of course.
Is Kim Kardashian back in that, I wonder? Scream 7, they're gonna make a ton of money. The Scream fans are feral. They are rabid. They are die hard. So it'll be good.
It's gonna be interesting. And then I don't know. I mean, I would be interested in checking it out if the reviews are good. But then also Children of Blood and Bone. I think that comes out in January.
I bought all the books. I need to start reading these books.
So, I mean, Idris Elba, Cynthia Erivo and, Chiwetel Ejiofor. But speaking of Wicked, of course, that's the next big potential franchise Cynthia Erivo could signed on to. Heart of the Beast is another one, which that's a David Ayer movie. I think that's David Ayer and Brad Pitt collaborating for the first time since, what was it? What was the tank movie that they did? I'm
sorry?
There was a movie about a tank in World War II.
Are you talking about Fury?
Fury, yes. Yes, Fury. So this is the first time since Fury that David Ayer and Brad Pitt are coming back together. So that might be one movie. I would dude, if Brad Pitt is already there for F1, then get him out there for Heart of the Beast. Talk about the movie.
I mean, why? Yeah, might as well. Sure.
And then Sonic the Hedgehog 4 is also one that I think is potentially on the horizon, but it's not probably until 2027. But maybe they'll tell us what their plans are for that. Anything Star Trek related, I wouldn't mind seeing news on. So that's all the Paramount Picture stuff. Now let's see. We're gonna get through the rest of Thursday. So you have a lunch. and then after lunch you go to Disney. Now here comes, like, Disney comes on Thursday, one of the last presenters of the week. The Walt Disney Studios, of course, is the studio that consistently makes the most amount of money at the box office, even since the pandemic. They've already put out Captain America 4 and Snow White this year. So now they've got a bunch more, obviously, on the horizon. You've got Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
So I fully expect Thunderbolts to either give us a surprise screening or at least another trailer.
Like, I hope they show the whole thing.
I want to see David Harbour.
I feel like
there.
It would help. Well, but I feel like it'll help add to the build up, the hype. Now that they did all of that stunt with Doomsday, I don't think they would be a miss in showing the whole thing, even though it's not coming out until May. That's still only like a month away at this point. So I feel like, why not show it? I think they probably will, to be fair.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Dude, I would be so excited. You know what I hope they announce? I hope that the Thunderbolts cereal box is now an actual cereal that you can buy at a local, like, Target near you.
I mean, they've done. I mean, we've had Golden Girls cereal. They've done stuff like that before. Why not? I mean, they probably won't be able to use the Wheaties imagery, but who knows? I'd buy it. You know, I would.
I mean, if they can turn the Bootios in WWE into a cereal that you can actually buy, then why the heck can you not do that with Thunderbolts? Then, of course, Sisters Act 3, which I'm not so interested in, but there's that one. Lilo and Stitch, I think this might be one of those movies that can potentially give us an actual screening for, given how close it is to release and how popular of a franchise. Like, they want this thing to potentially, make $1 billion, if not more.
Well, and again, the fact that it's coming out Memorial Day weekend is all good. It's all.
I would not be surprised if this one gets a trailer or a bunch of stuff around it. So, and then Elio just put out a new first look. I think it was a first look or a trailer, and looked fantastic.
It's so cute. I can't wait for it. It looks great.
I can't wait for it either. And then the live action Moana. That's one which I think this is okay. Dwayne Johnson shows up to these events. Like, this is right up his alley.
He's another Tom Cruise with that 100%.
And you know what? If here's a prediction. I think if Dwayne Johnson shows up to this event, he's gonna be dressed like Maui. Like,
I was literally gonna say the exact same thing.
He's gonna show up in costume,
full hair, 100%,
the whole thing,
waving the hook around, 100%. He's gonna do the haka on stage. Absolutely, he will. And if he's already there, he might as well talk about Fast X too, because he's gonna be a part of that. I mean, 100. Listen, Dwayne is almost worse than Tom Cruise with that shit. So absolutely, he'll sing "You're Welcome" to everybody. It's 100%.
And then Disney's dude, I don't know how Disney's gonna fit everything into like the 2 hours they'll have. But the Fantastic Four First Steps, that's a big movie. That I think is probably for Marvel Studios, the movie that has the most pressure to succeed this year. Yeah. And when you have the stars like Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and you have the director Matt Shakman, who did the WandaVision series. What's the name of the Eben Moss-Bachrach, who's playing the Thing?
Yes.
I think this, and then also you have not Bill Murray. What's his name? Why am I forgetting? Who plays like the old person? John Malkovich. John Malkovich is in this movie. Yes. Sorry, brain fart.
But like Johnny Milk.
Do you think this is like the big Marvel Studios movie? They'll trot out the cast, and they might even bring the director, maybe even.
I think they're gonna try. Yeah, they really need to start on the marketing machine for this film for sure. They really need to start generating a lot of buzz, because again, Superman already has so much behind it already. Has so many people talking about it. It's already got the trailer out, all the views on YouTube, everything like that. I think they need to really start to ramp it up with this one. So it would behoove them to release another trailer, possibly show 5-10 minute clips, have the whole cast come out. Pedro Pascal is everybody's fan favorite, so trot his ass out there. They really need to step up the marketing for this film if they expect it to be the success that it's going to be. So we're going to need to start seeing a lot more from the studio. So I anticipate that they're going to lean really heavily into this one for sure.
I think so too. And then I think we're going to get something. Maybe a trailer. Maybe they have Lindsay Lohan out there, because Freaky Friday.
She'll come out, yeah.
Friday.
Yeah.
Looks like it's. Remember we talked about the top 10 most anticipated movies of this year on Fandango?
I'm looking forward to it.
I did not expect Freaky Friday to be on the list.
It looks great. I'm looking forward to it.
That one I think we're gonna get probably
You've got your
trailer for.
diehards, especially with Lindsay Lohan's comeback. Everybody's rooting for her 100%. They're gonna make a lot of money on that one.
And then Tron Ares, I think this is the place for them to put out the first trailer. This is
they just put the Tron ride just opened up last year. So you know, Disney, that's all they care about. They don't care about the films. They care about the marketing. They care about the toys. They care about getting people to the parks. So they're definitely going to put some more stuff out there as well about that.
And I know 100%. Kayla, what you're thinking in the chat, is Jared Leto going to be there? I hope so.
And he will. He probably will. Well, you've got to get him off of his island. And why aren't you there, Caleb? Shouldn't you be a part of that island? It sounds like a place that you'd really enjoy.
Yeah, hopefully you'll get your
I'd check it out. I wouldn't be able to do the vegan pure diet, which is probably what he's got going on. No, you know, everything's pure, everything. I probably couldn't do all that bullshit, but hey, have fun, enjoy it. Who am I to judge? I'm not going to yuck your yum. But yeah, he'll probably show up.
Yep, and then Zootopia 2, which is another movie that will probably make $1 billion. I love the first one. My favorite scene is the one where they go in the sloth.
Bring Shakira back too. Yes.
Yeah, I would love to see a trailer, a first look, a poster, anything Zootopia 2. I'm here for it. And then Avatar: Fire and Ash. I would not be surprised if they do have James Cameron.
Zoe for sure will show up for that. Yeah.
Either he's there or he sends in a video, like, you know, Kate Winslet is back, Sigourney Weaver is back.
He'll send some more behind the scenes stuff because it's so groundbreaking, it's so innovating, this is all bespoke filmmaking, quite frankly. That's the best way you can describe it. Yeah, he'll definitely tout his ingenious new tech that he's using for it, and you know, good on him, because it has changed the face of cinema. So you know, I'm here for it. Go for it, buddy. And again, Disney, they're gonna make all that money. They have the Avatar ride that's still doing well, and I mean, they're no fools. They know who pays the bills. So yeah.
And then you know, speaking of paying the bills, I think Pixar is looking to pay the bills with Hoppers, which is a movie that comes out in 2026. But it comes out in the early half of 2026, so I think that might get some level of
it's an interesting cast too.
Yeah. Now here's the thing: Avengers Doomsday comes out in May of next year, so I don't really know if we're gonna get anything about it. Maybe, you know, if Kevin Feige's taking questions, he might get asked about it. But I don't think
they'll
RDJ
probably
shows up.
they'll kind of just re-show the director's chairs.
Yeah.
They'll talk about how popular that reveal was on YouTube, all the numbers that they generated from that. RDJ is probably going to come out, because apparently that's all that matters to them now, is that one fucking guy. They're putting everything on his shoulders, so he probably will. Which again, good for them. But like I said, my money would be more on them taking more time on Thunderbolts and then on Fantastic Four, because again, it seems as though the advertisement, the buzz, the marketing has been on Thunderbolts and Doomsday, and it's like, hello, Fantastic Four comes out the same month as Superman and Jurassic. Like, y'all should need to start spending some time on that one. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And you know, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie and Toy Story 5 are firmly next summer movies. So I don't think
the merchandise, all the toys.
But for those two, I don't think we get any updates, but we will they might get a mention or two, but obviously those are still pretty far away from release. So I think that's probably, you know, the entirety of the Disney presentation there. I mean, the entirety, like, I can't imagine how they're going to fit that into 2 hours, but there you go. So from there, the night wraps up with the Coca-Cola company inviting you to a big screen achievement awards after party, which they do this set of awards at CinemaCon, which is like their version of the Oscars essentially, and they'll be giving out some awards like Star of the Year to Glenn Powell. You've got Action Star of the Year Ana de Armas, Distinguished Decade of Achievement in Film to Channing Tatum. Lindsay Lohan is getting the CinemaCon Vanguard Awards. We were talking about she probably will be at the Disney presentation for Freakier Friday. Cheech and Chong getting a Career Achievement in Comedy Award. The Next Generation Award going to David Johnson. Madeline McGraw getting the Rising Star of 2025. And then Star of Tomorrow going to Ben Wang. And that will bring us to a close for essentially, I believe that's the Thursday. So, is that it? Is there no other events for? I believe that might be.
Yeah, Friday will be a big travel day for everybody.
So
yeah.
that's it, guys. That's your CinemaCon. Disney gets the last word on the week. I mean, Warner Brothers will be there pretty much on, what is it, day 2. Sony kicks things off on day 1.
If anything, maybe the trade show will go until Friday, so they'll give people the opportunity all day Friday to do that, to check out all the things that are upcoming that they can buy and sell in their cinemas. And I would love to go to something. And you were right. I was looking up the pricing, the registration, the pricing. So if you want to just see the trade show as a non-member, it's $945 for that ticket. So $1,000, because there's going to be add-ons and fees and taxes and handling and all that bullshit. So $1,000 to just visit the trade show. But if you were to do the trade show and the seminar package, it's only $1,060. So it's just an extra $60. So probably we'll say $1,100 for that. And then the full domestic package. So I guess, I don't know if they're breaking it up by studio or if you're traveling internationally. I'm not exactly sure, because they have an international and a domestic. But the domestic package, again, we're going to round up, we'll say $1,700. And the international package, again, this is only if you're a non-member. So this is the highest prices, is another $1,900. So it's doable. You can show up as a Joe Schmo off the street, apparently, but you've got to have some moolah in order to make that happen.
I mean,
I'm not there yet.
That's on purpose.
Right.
That
right.
threshold.
If you want to
high.
hobnob, if you want to get anywhere near these high-powered execs who think that they're better than you got to pay for that access. So.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Which I think they do that partly because so that not everybody who goes to Comic-Cons will show up there. So, but with that said, guys, I mean, hey, oh my God, we just talked about 50 different movies and I don't know how many big blockbusters. So yeah, my mouth is watering. I can't wait to see what else they announce. I'm sure way beyond everything we talked about, there will still be surprises. There'll be other, screenings of movies and stuff, but yeah, I mean, coming out of this week, we're going to have a lot to talk about. And we'll be talking about it pretty much as they go on each and every day. After the Warner Brothers presentation tomorrow, we'll be live. So we'll talk about what Superman news is out there. But right now, let's continue on with the news. Now, this is a story that is a bit of a more somber story. Richard Chamberlain has passed away at the age of 90. He was, of course, known for Dr. Kildare, but more importantly, the show that then spawned a remake recently, Shogun, which swept the Emmys. Before there was a Shogun in 2024, there was the Shogun back in I believe it was the 70s or the 80s that Richard Chamberlain starred in. And then of course he was attached with a bunch of other franchises. Now, Liz, I want to ask you, how do you best remember Richard Chamberlain? Is this an actor that touched your life in a significant way with his work? And how do you choose to remember him now that he is gone and left us at the age of 90?
Oh, that's an unfortunate. I have an unfortunate answer for you. I know of him. That's pretty much all I can say. I'm well aware of him. I've heard his name time and time again. I have not seen a single thing he has ever been attached to. I've not seen any of the TV shows he's ever been in. I've heard of all of his films, but I've seen the reboots or the sequels too. I've never seen the originals. So I do know that he is a big name, that he is an icon. But unfortunately, I can't say that I've seen anything that he's done. So I really feel bad. But
it's okay. Well,
I know he's a big deal, and that's pretty much all I can say.
And at the age of 90, it sounds like he lived a full life, and of course he was involved with a lot of big time franchises that are continuing to make a comeback in the modern day. Whether it is Dr. Kildare, especially Shogun. I mean, Shogun is getting a second season
you know what?
now.
He was in I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. I have seen that. I do recall him in that film. I know exactly who he was in. So, okay. So yes. I have seen one of his films.
Well, there you go. But so it looks like he passed away from complications following a stroke on Saturday afternoon in his home in Hawaii.
Sure.
So there was a statement, and this was just days before he turned 91. So he was almost 91. And there was a statement put out on behalf from his partner, Martin Rabbit. He said, "Our beloved Richard is with the angels now. He is free and soaring to those loved ones before us. How blessed were we to have known such an amazing and loving soul. Love never dies, and our love is under his wings, lifting him to his next great adventure." So guys, Richard Chamberlain, again, one of the actors that defined an era of television. And of course, the most popular thing you might have associated with him is the original Shogun series, which of course has, led us to now recently, a year. I mean, the new Shogun on FX that has now gone from just being a limited series to getting a second season and a third season greenlit. So Richard Chamberlain.
Do we know, did he ever make an appearance in the newer iteration of Shogun?
He did not. But the character that he played was basically the lead of the show. He was basically he played the same character that Cosmo Jarvis plays in the new one. So yeah, Richard Chamberlain passing away. Sad day indeed, but we hope that if you were a fan of him, that you can now, take this moment to go back and watch some of his old work. And then of course, if you're a fan of Shogun, you not only have his version of the show, but you have the new one, which will be getting a couple more seasons. So now there's another news of an actor who passed away today, over the weekend actually. Bruce Glover, Diamonds Are Forever villain, dies at the age of 92. So again, at the age of 92, we hope that he lived a full life. Bruce Glover Diamonds Are Forever was one of the last Sean Connery Bond movies, if I remember correctly. So he was the villain in that movie. He played the assassin, one of the villains. He was playing Mr. Wint. Liz, how do you best remember him? Did you watch Diamonds Are Forever? Do you remember Bruce Glover at all?
I believe I have seen bits and pieces of Diamonds Are Forever. I don't recall seeing the full film. And again, I'm just trying to go through his catalog to see if there's anything at all that I might have possibly seen, and it doesn't look like it, unfortunately. And I'll be honest, I don't even know that I'm that familiar with his name either. So but he seems to have quite a number of titles under his belt. So I'm sure the people that worked with him are gonna, remember him fondly. It's a real shame. Yeah. But we all get old, we pass away. That's how it is, unfortunately. Thankfully, again, he and Mr. Chamberlain both lived into their 90s, so that's all we can really hope for, Yeah.
So. I mean, he was in the original Mission Impossible show, The Mob Squad, Gunsmoke. So all of these shows from back in the day, Walking Tall, Chinatown, those are the films, like Hard Times. So again, like you said, he's got a lot of credits to his name, and for somebody who passes away at the age of 92, he had a full career and an amazing life, and he's survived by his son, who's also an actor, Crispin Glover, and he confirmed the death of his father.
He's Instagram. Crispin's dad. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah. Okay, I know who Crispin is. I love Crispin.
Well, there you go. But he did not provide a cause of death for Bruce Glover. But hey, Bruce Glover, most famous for his role as one of the villains in Diamonds Are Forever, a 007 movie that
I can also see it. He looks like Crispin. Yeah.
Yeah, like a movie again. Diamonds Are Forever is a movie that most people remember as one of those last appearances. But I think maybe it was the last appearance for Sean Connery as Bond. Let me know in the chat, guys. I might be wrong about that, but Bruce Glover, we will remember you for all your work and the legacy that you have left behind. Thank you for all the work and the memories over the years. Now, with that, we move on to the next topic, Liz. The next one, of course, is that YouTube controversy that I mentioned
at the
top of the show. Now, I want to give you a little bit of context here. I don't think we really discussed this, you and I at least, because John and I talked about this last week. Sure. Deadline recently did an investigation. So they point out two specific channels on YouTube, and since we are a channel on YouTube ourselves, I think this is a relevant story for us to talk about because it affects literally you guys watching and then also us as well, because when we're not doing YouTube this show on YouTube, we're watching other things on YouTube. So Deadline was looking up and they did a whole investigation about all these fake AI generated trailers. Now here's the thing, not all these trailers are 100% AI generated, but they do have a lot of AI generated shots in them, because they'll do things like, okay, so they put, like you see in the image here, Leonardo DiCaprio's face on one of the guards in the Squid Game.
Yeah.
And then there's a fake trailer involving Henry Cavill and Margot Robbie, and I think in a future James Bond movie. They've been putting out fake trailers for like Superman and like a trailer for Supergirl where they put the face of Millie Alcock on footage that is clearly from the Supergirl TV show that had Melissa Benoist in it. And then they have, like you can see here, Anya Taylor-Joy playing Elsa in Frozen, which by the way,
would be great.
I would totally cast her because she looks.
Why not?
She can do it. She looks the part.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so basically, they did this research and they came up with information, and along the way, Deadline found that a bunch of movie studios, and this is what John and I discussed the other day. I think it was Sony, Paramount, Warner Brothers, and a bunch of others. What they've been doing is they've asked YouTube, like, hey, don't take the trailer down. You know, this fake trailer that's purposefully misleading audiences, or completely, like, you know, it's clickbait at
You mean these major
and
studios are doing shady things behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Really?
So, I mean, clickbait at best and absolute deception at worst. All of us have been guilty for, like, clicking onto a trailer, being tricked by it because it's a fake trailer. It shows us footage from something else, or shows us AI footage, generated footage that is clearly not the real thing. And sometimes those trailers are ranked even higher in our search results than the actual trailers, which is, you know, and they're purposefully designed to deceive you, because it will say official trailer. The thumbnails will look like it's from the actual channel of like a real studio. So the actual studios, like, you know, Warner Brothers and Paramount and Sony and such, and even Disney, I think, what they were doing is they were asking YouTube, well, don't take these videos down, but the revenue that they're making, because these videos get hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views, like, send us the revenue, because it's our properties that they're ripping off.
Right.
So in doing that, like, the question I want to ask you is, like, are they actually supporting all this fake AI deception? Because I'm like, the thing that you should be doing is doing cease and desist letters and takedown notices, and YouTube should take all this shit down.
So I liken it to, at least here in the States, I liken it to the southern states notoriously have, you know, these puppy mills. You always hear, oh, you know, our dog came from Texas. Our dog came from South Carolina. We rescued we have a whole batch of puppies coming up from Florida. It's the same thing. The studios know these people are making this stuff. They're not stopping it as long as they're benefiting from it in some way. So either it adds buzz, which leads to other, you know, people going to their other projects, or they're like Dan had said, they're going to get the revenue from these bad actors doing things. And now I don't mind that necessarily, because for me, fuck around, find out, that's what you get. However, it creates a cycle of these folks. They create these things, they get found out, they find out they're not going to get their checks anymore, so they shut that down. They open up a new link, they open up a new site, they open up a new you know, channel, and the cycle continues. So that's where I have the problem. The sign says it right there. If you're gonna lie, be honest about it. You know, I don't have a problem with fake trailers and fake content. What I have is that they're being deceitful and monetizing off of it. That's my issue. If you were to come out right away and say, this is a fan-made production, this is something we think that would be really cool, this is an idea we had and we rolled with it. If you came out right off the jump and said, this is not a studio sanctioned thing, this is just us being creative, this is us playing around with our different, you know, Photoshop, CGI programs that we have, what have you. If, you know, it's a student production that we submitted to our university and we thought you'd like it, we want your feedback. All of that is completely fine with me. But if you're putting this stuff out there as if it's real legitimate content and you're monetizing off of it, then you're a piece of shit and you get what you deserve. But again, these studios are just adding to the problem when they're being little snaky snakes behind the scenes on top of it. Because again, they're saying, yes, it's a problem, but it's not necessarily a problem for us. So like they're creating these gray areas where it should be black and white.
People just being deceived into getting, you know, false information.
But I do want to say, because I know there's a ton of fake news out there. I know there's a ton of fake information. There's a lot of misinformation, misdirection. There's a lot of made up bullshit. And I feel that way about everything. My personal belief is, and again, I'm not trying to get political here. I'm not trying to pick one side or another. I think anybody that's making money off of anything, there are going to be levels of corruption. There are going to be some shady bullshit things going on behind the scenes that we may never know about. But for me, if you're putting fake bullshit out there, it's up to people like YouTube. It's up to these sites like YouTube to sit back and say, hey, that's not cool. We need to draw a line in the sand. Again, clearly not everybody's going to do that. I hope YouTube starts to crack down, but you know, it is what it is. As long as people can profit off of bullshit, they're going to do it. And, this is just the world we live in. And now this is just another level of that. I mean, we're getting into all the AI stuff now too. So it's becoming a real problem. And, if anything, these companies are just showing their true character in how they address it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and you look at the channels that they have here, right? So KH Studio, in their channel description, they actually say, hey, look, we're creating concept trailers. They point that out in their description. So, and then they actually, I don't know if this has been changed since the recent action, because we're going to talk about what recently happened, because there has been a development on the YouTube side. YouTube finally did something, which seems somewhat reasonable. But they say, look, our content aligns with YouTube's policies, allowing us to maintain monetization while delivering unique and transformative. Well, I don't know so much about maintaining monetization.
And who's going to read that? Who goes to each channel and reads those things like that? And I should say, I never finished my analogy, because I feel like I just threw that out there and it didn't make any sense. My whole point with the whole dog thing and people adopting from the South is it just encourages the bad apples down in these southern states to continue with these puppy mills, because they know that there's always going to be someone from the northern territories, from the West, from the East Coast, that are going to come down and save these animals. So on the one hand, you think you're doing good, but in fact, you're just feeding the beast more and encouraging this bad behavior more. So I unfortunately, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how to solve these problems, because it's this spiral of bullshit and ripping people off, and it's a shame.
I mean, it's also, when you look at it from just what these channels, I guess, started off doing, like, look at some of these videos. So I'm just going to point out a few examples just to see what maybe is motivated, because like they might have thought like, oh, this is some, like, they at one point came up with the idea of doing a concept trailer, and it really took off. Because you look at some of the videos on there that are not actually trailers, like the news section, for example, has all these videos with like upcoming 2022 movie news, for example, and most of them have 12K, 29K, 39, like, tens of thousands of views. One of them had 100,000 views, right? But then when you look at like a trailer, you could see they were from 2 years ago, but then they started doing these concept trailers. Logan 2 teaser trailer, 1.7 million views. Avatar 3 teaser trailer, 3 million views.
And again, I don't mind that, because it says concept, so it does tell you it's an idea. No, but it's just something that we were playing with.
It doesn't say the concept trailer on the video or the thumbnail or the title of the video,
and
it says it on the channel.
Then it gets shared. Yes, because then it gets shared to people who don't know the backstory.
Look, honestly, like, look, your mom, my dad, like, we all have people in our family who will go on YouTube, search up something, and be like, oh my god, they put out the next Tom Cruise Mission Impossible trailer.
I mean, we were talking about this last week, weren't we? My dad would fall for all of this if he were still with us. My dad would be sending me these links, and he would say, oh, did you see this trailer for Wonder Woman 3? Oh, did you? And I'd be like, Dad, it's not real. And it's like, 100%. Your grandmas and grandpas are going to start clicking on these things and like, oh, what a great idea they have for this new movie. It's like, no, pop. Like, you're right about that.
It's crazy. Because again, even in the screen culture one, which I have actually, I fell prey to that once upon a time, and I'm like, oh no, this is a fake trailer. But
sure, yeah.
We've all have like the franchises that we really love, and we're like, oh my god, are they finally doing a new movie? Like, are they finally doing Rush Hour 4? Is their trailer already out? And then you look and it's like, oh, okay. Because sometimes they're very convincing. That's the problem. It's not even like they're obviously fake.
Well, they are.
Right, even some of the thumbnails look very convincing, even though not every single one.
Well, and again, we've got all those deep fakes that are out there. You and I were talking about it before. There was a deep fake with RDJ and Tom Holland recreating a scene from Back to the Future. I thought it was just these two guys doing this little project, and because it looked so real, it looked so convincing at certain points that it's like, oh, what a cool idea! Like they were just having fun with, because they were doing a lot of those. They were recreating classic TV shows and things around that time. So I thought that's kind of what that was, that they were just kind of playing with the idea, like, oh, wouldn't that be fun? And like, so yeah, there's shady people out there doing shady things.
Even Screen Culture has the same problem that the other what was it? KH Studio had the same thing, where you look at like the Avengers Endgame with How I Met Your Mother and Friends trailer, and that had 40,000 views 6 years ago. But then 5 years ago, they put out a Friends Reunion special trailer, which is a fake one, but you can tell the thumbnail is meant to look like it's on the actual HBO Max YouTube account. That got 4 million views. So clearly, by letting them continue to like do this stuff and having the algorithm of YouTube promote it to viewers and then have it be monetized, it's encouraging by way of that. Like YouTube is encouraging them to do more of it, to the point where The Last of Us Season 2, they put out an ultimate trailer where the thumbnail looks exactly like something you would see on the actual Max YouTube account, except this is not the real trailer. And it's got like some fake footage, it's got some stuff mixed in from Season 1, but it's like, it's not the real thing. And this is clearly, you know, been a problem with like how YouTube has been handling AI as a whole. And then in addition to that, there's all the different, you know, more things about ethics and morality about it. Now, YouTube finally, the news that's the latest development in this that we want to talk about is that YouTube has finally turned off the ad revenue for all these fake movie trailer channels. Now, they did this only after Deadline brought this out. So, I mean, investigative journalism,
after they were putting YouTube
to shame. YouTube and the studios that were like conspiring. So what they did is they turned off the monetization specifically for Screen Culture, KH Studio, and a bunch of other ones. So these channels that have literally got millions of subscribers and get millions of views every month and every year, no longer able to make money off of it. And when you look at the comments, I think one of the channels gave a comment when Deadline asked them about it. The KH Studios founder said the intention of the channel is to entertain with what if ideas rather than mislead viewers. But my thing is, I don't give a fuck if you're not trying to mislead viewers. It doesn't matter if you put 3 sentences in your channel description saying these are fan-made concept trailers when your actual trailers thumbnail looks like it's the real thing and the title of the video looks like it's the real thing. You're clearly trying to deceive people into clicking onto your video because they think your video is the real thing and not the actual trailer from the actual production company or studio.
These people know what they're doing. Like, please.
Like, if you were really being honest, like the thumbnail should say concept trailer and then the title should say fan trailer or something, right? Like, that's how you actually be honest with the people, not by saying, oh yeah, officially it's like what if, and then get this, Screen Culture didn't even comment on this particular story, but when Deadline was doing the whole investigation originally, they did comment on it, and Screen Culture's owner, who apparently pays a bunch of editors to create the stuff like, you know, year round, he was like, well, you know, it's not meant to be misleading, but you know, if it does, then what's the harm? And I'm like, really? Okay, so what's the harm? So you get like billions of views and millions of subscribers, and you're probably making millions of dollars in ad revenue. Nikhil F.P. Chaudhary, who the name in the title here in the article, and he's got like a dozen editors working, so obviously he's supporting probably a full-time staff.
Yeah, the harm is that you're cheating honest people out of
and it's very basic. This is like copyright infringement, right? And then beyond that, there's so many other millions of problems with it. So I'm like, I don't know why this wasn't shut down sooner, that it took Deadline to do a public investigation. But I guess, like you said, Liz, that's the world that we live in. You fuck around and you find out. But
fuck around and find out, gang.
It's stupid because you know what happens, like when we are trying to do shows, when we're talking about real news and stuff like this, starts to make rounds and goes viral, because now people are becoming more like just vigilant and just being able to discern better and what's real and what's not. But every once in a while we all get tricked because we all have like our bias goggles on for every once in a while a movie that we're really excited about. The other day we were talking about how Krish 4 finally got greenlit. They're going to start production next year. But I remember that movie people have been wanting for like 13 years since the last one came out in 2013. Or like 12 years, I guess, right now. But by the time they start filming, it would be 13. So years ago, like a fake trailer, many fake trailers, even now, you go on YouTube, you look for a Krish 4 trailer, you'll see a million fake trailers with like convincing thumbnails, titles, and people get deceived by it. I was watching a Corridor Crew channel breakdown. They do the VFX artists react. They reacted to the movies that are out, and then they were like, guess what? There's a trailer out for the Krish 4, like this channel that has millions of views, and each of those videos that they do VFX Artists React gets millions of views, and they have a lot of, millions of subscribers. They got tricked. They left it in their video, and they were like, oh man, we got tricked by one of those fake trailers. So I'm like, this is clearly an epidemic. And now with AI, it's becoming harder because it's so convincing. Sometimes you can't tell if somebody actually got a hold of real footage that is not meant to be public yet, or is it actually CGI? So I think with AI, it's only becoming worse. So I hope I really do hope that they figure this out. And now moving forward, YouTube does not have to be publicly called out by a deadline investigation or something of the sort, and before they decide to do the right thing. Because it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous because then it's like to the behest of the studios themselves. Their own trailers don't place higher in the search results. It's like, do you want somebody to go see the fake version of an Avengers Doomsday trailer or the real version? Because right now the fake version is going to be placing higher in the search results. So like, just think it through, Disney and Warner Brothers and Paramount and Sony and whatever else.
I think they're coming from like there's no such thing as bad news. No, like they would rather. Still, to them, I think they still consider it a marketing tool because it's still our brand, it's still our project. They're generating
false expectations. Right?
Well, but also the what happens on the other side of that is then people go see that movie or that TV show or what have you, and they don't get anything close to what that fake trailer was showing them. So it's a buyer beware situation, but then it turns people off, and then they say, well, fuck that. I don't want to be a part of your project because that's not what you put out. And then they turn around and say, well, we didn't put that out. It's like, but you let it go out there. You knew it was out there. You did nothing about it. Whereas meanwhile, if you or I were to play music or show a clip of anything, we would get in trouble for it. So, well, you can't have it both ways.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's all just shady business.
Ridiculous. But guys, let us know in the comments down below where you fall on this debate. I think you know where we fall on, which side we fall on, but hit the like button while you're at it. I mean, I'm sure if there's any more developments in this space, we will bring you the update. Okay. So the next story, this one, Lizz, over the weekend, a working man came out finally, the start of maybe a 12-part franchise or more, depending on how many more books in the series there will be. But Jason Statham, it looks like, as the Fast and Furious franchise is wrapping up, he's like, I'm a working man and I need to get a whole new franchise because I need to be a working man. So he went in and he said, okay, David Ayer,
and he
you made
does
the Beekeeper.
Working.
The Beekeeper 2 is coming out soon.
Beekeeper 2.
Let's do another movie. Now, The Working Man comes out this weekend and is beating Snow White. It's literally, if you look at the headlines, they're hilarious.
Yep, I saw it yesterday.
Somebody said they're putting like Snow White to sleep. I think that was what Deadline had. Like, clearly the opening weekend for The Working Man at 15 million is not a very high number. But given that Snow White fell 66%, which is now it's officially bombing. A Working Man is #1 at the box office list. Are you surprised by this? Because it's not like Snow White was that far behind, but it didn't even make 15. It made 14.2 million.
We'll say, so like Death of a Unicorn came out as well the same weekend. So I will say I don't know that I'm surprised that Working Man is #1. I'm kind of surprised that they haven't talked about Death of a Unicorn's numbers because I would think that film would have done better as well, considering it, it's Paul Rudd but no, I loved The Working Man. I actually, when I was at my theater, I saw somebody was having like a birthday party and going to Snow White, and I was like, oh, there's a better way to celebrate your young one's birthday. But good for you, good luck to you. But it doesn't surprise me at all. We've been talking about this. I genuinely thought Snow White was going to make a shit ton of money, but thankfully, it sounds like word of mouth is getting out there. And again, the controversy surrounding it prior to its release is definitely part of this as well. But I think, people are sick and tired of them changing these beloved stories that we know so well, that we grew up with, that we modeled our whole, fantasy zeitgeist around. And then we go in and we see it and you've butchered it. You've butchered the story that we care about. I mean, what really kills me, and I didn't bring this up when I mentioned the film last week when I was talking about Snow White. So Rachel and Gal both keep marketing it as, oh, it's Snow White doesn't need to be saved. She doesn't need to be saved. So we didn't have that same Prince Charming come in and she didn't need to be rescued. It was her becoming the leader she was always meant to be. Gang, True Love's kiss still had to be a part of it. Okay, so she still had to fall in love with a gentleman who then had to come and wake her from her poisoned slumber. So what the actual fuck are you, what kind of message are you trying to put out there? So the whole film was just convoluted. It was a mess. The storyline was wrong. Like I said, the costuming sucked ass. The dwarf whole thing, the CGI business, there were so many. It's not just one controversy. There were so many controversies in this dumbass film. Like I said, the only thing about it was the music was good, except for that one song that was a minute too long. But again, it's no surprise to me that it continues to tank. I wouldn't be surprised if it's pulled from movie theaters by next week, because who fucking cares at this point? Even though they still do have some popcorn buckets for sale, and they're pretty sweet. One myself, but The Working Man, it's a Jason Statham film. Jason Statham puts butts in seats. I'm sorry, John, he does. People enjoy.
He's one of the last few movie stars.
He's gonna be like Liam Neeson. He's gonna be beating the shit out of people well into his 70s and 80s, and we're gonna continue to buy tickets. We're gonna continue to see it because it's what the man does best. I'm not mad about it. So I had a good old time. It is a typical Jason Statham smash 'em up movie. So it had some elements of cheese. The plot was all right. The pacing wasn't great. But again, that's not what I was there for. I was there to watch him kill a lot of people in a short amount of time. And I got what I paid for.
You got what you paid for. That's the thing. Like this is a simple formula. And Jason Statham has cracked it. He's like, you know what? I know what I'm good at. I'm a working man, and I'm gonna go work for my money. Yeah, and
granted, frankly, they did have other stars in it. Michael Pena was in it. And why am I always forgetting? Blanking on it. David Harbour was in it. They were both in it for all of 5 minutes. Yeah. I won't say they were.
We're gonna review the movie in a bit.
But
like the box office again. I'm not necessarily surprised that Working Man is doing as good as it is, because those were the predictions. I am surprised a little bit, even though the opening weekend wasn't so great, that the Snow White movie is dropping as much as it is. Now, Disney isn't quite giving up on the movie yet, because they know that there's rolling spring breaks over the next few weeks. So, more kids and people in the target audience will be available to go see the movie. So,
but again, I think word of mouth has gotten out to enough people that people are like, I was talking to a friend about it, and she said, okay, so I'll wait for it to come out on Disney Plus.
Exactly.
And I think that's what's going to be happening.
It's not even
it's a product of Disney's own design, quite frankly, because we know it's going to end up on Disney Plus. So why would I pay for it in theaters if everybody's telling me that it's not worth my time?
Yeah. Well, but that's also the streaming era in general. I think, as far as this movie goes, it's not even made 75 million domestically, not even 150 worldwide, leading into the second weekend. By this time, most movies that from Disney that are gonna make a lot of money would have already crossed like $200 or $300 million worldwide. But a Working Man coming out and just hitting its mark, and it's beating. We don't have the actuals from the weekend, but like as of last check, A Working Man is ahead of Snow White by almost 1 million. It looks great. Again, you're gonna get what you're gonna get when you go to see A Working Man, and I think that's what people appreciate, is they're not gonna be getting something where they're like, oh, a $370 million Snow White that looks terrible, or A Working Man where you just want to turn off your brain and watch, just beat up a bunch of people. That's exactly what you're gonna get. Now, the other thing I wanted to quickly mention before we move on is Snow White next week, for like Disney, who's still holding out hope for a recovery, it's going to be going up against a Minecraft movie, which we will preview toward the end of the show. So it's not like the road is getting any easier. You have other movies coming out that are targeting the same exact audience. So I do not think Snow White really recovers here.
And and not to make it a sexist point, but quite frankly, more families with little kids are going to take their families to a more male-oriented animated film than they're going to a female. You know what I'm saying? So like,
I would say
if my little girl wants to see Snow White, her little brother's not going to want to see that. If her little brother wants to go see Minecraft, she won't mind tagging along for that, is my point. You know what I'm saying? So it's a tricky thing to talk about, but it's true. And Minecraft is absolutely going to outdo Snow White's numbers for sure within the first opening weekend.
I mean, but like for me, it's even more than just that, right? Like I think that when you compare Minecraft, the property, to Snow White, like in terms of the value of and just the general awareness of the two things.
Yeah.
Snow White is at this point a fable. Like the original Snow White is 100 years old, over 100 years, or just about 100 years old.
I'm just saying, no matter if family friendly films are so few and far between. Yeah. My point is, if they have to choose between one or the other, more often than not, they're going more towards the boy oriented film than they would be on the because again, the boy, and again, I don't mean to pigeonhole it and put it in these terms, but the more male, the more boy oriented films, and this is actually true for all films, quite frankly, in general. Like date night movies are usually whatever your freaking man wants to go see. Like you have to drag them kicking and screaming to like romantic films. Like men didn't want to go see This Is Us. You know what I'm saying? Like or It Ends With Us. You know what I mean? So it's the same. So if audiences have a choice,
see that.
Well, not now, but if audiences have a choice between a more male-oriented, family-friendly film or a little girl princess film, they're going to go with the more male-oriented. I mean, sadly, that's just the name of the game. That's just how things are.
I mean, and also, like I said, on top of that, the difference between, in this particular case, Minecraft and Snow White, a lot more kids today can relate to and know about Minecraft than they do about Snow White. So I think that it's also
still a Disney classic. It's still a Disney staple.
It is,
I think all of the classic Disney stories are still very much a part of our world.
They also are not. No, but here's the thing, Liz. Like most kids today, like you ask a 5-year-old, "Do you know about Snow White?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I kind of." You know about Minecraft? Oh, Minecraft. Yeah, I play that. Like I think there's genuinely. Here's the thing: Minecraft is tracking better than Snow White is. I don't know if Minecraft is going to make more money than Snow White by the end of its run.
It will.
It also doesn't look like the best movie. We will get into the reactions for it when we talk about it later, but because like social media reactions are coming out now. I think they did a premiere recently, so we do have to talk about that. But at the end of the, like I said, just 1-to-1, Snow White just doesn't hold the same cultural relevance today as Minecraft does.
I mean,
that's going to be a problem for a Snow White movie. That's especially for a Snow White movie that already, like you said, has a lot of bad word of mouth. So you either have a choice of seeing a movie that a lot of other people have told you is not very good, or just give this Minecraft movie a shot. So I think when it comes down to what was going to be the third weekend for Snow White and the first for Minecraft, it's not going to be good. This is a murderer's row coming up for Snow White. And unfortunately, when you can't stand the might of Jason Statham, I highly doubt you're going to stand the might of Minecraft. So there you go.
Right.
But with that, I think that's the box office from this past weekend. We're going to look ahead to the following weekend towards the end of the show. But this does now bring us to the next part of the show, which is the quick hits. So now we get into a much faster version of the news. And we have a bunch of stuff to talk about. So we're going to continue on the conversation with, first, a little bit more about the global box office. Now Liz, at the very beginning of the year, people were like, this is the year 20, that's, fight to survive till 2025. And now that the year is here, we started off quite well, but then over the last few weeks, the year's box office receipts have kind of dropped below where they were a year, like in 2024. But going into CinemaCon this week, CinemaCon is happening right now, the global box office projections have been raised up again and all the way to $34.1 billion. Previously, the number sat at 33 billion, so now that's an increase of $1 billion. Do you think that's just because what people are expecting to see at CinemaCon, or do you think there's a legitimate chance with movies like Ne Zha 2 making $2 billion, and you do have a lot of the big franchises yet to come out, that the new projection of 34 billion, that's a reasonable number to think about?
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable number. And again, we have to remember that like we didn't start seeing some trailers for these projects later on in the year until just recently. So
that's true.
I think 2024 was probably a bigger one for films, right off the bat, because it felt like, not that we're out of it, but it did kind of feel like this, like we're finally done with COVID. People can finally start going out en masse and be around strangers in an enclosed environment and that kind of thing. So I think people were just happy to get the fuck out of the house. But in the beginning of this year, what did we have to look forward to that had been marketed heavily? Captain America, that was about it, and people were kind of mid on it. Whereas, well, right. Whereas now we've got the trailers for Jurassic, we've got the trailers for Mission Impossible, we've got the trailers for Superman, for Thunderbolts. For Fantastic Four, for Lilo and Stitch. We have all of these projects that we've been looking forward to, but now they finally have been wetting our whistle while showing us, you know, some of the stuff about it. So now that the buzz is starting to pick up, I think it makes sense that projection has gotten a little higher.
Yeah, and I hope it keeps going higher, because like, you know, the movie theaters can use it. They can use the help. And this is the 1 week of the year where the movie theater, just, you know,
or your local theater,
center stage. So yeah, go support your movie theater in your town. Now, okay, next story up. This is, well, if I can remove all these overlays. So the Citadel franchise. Liz, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but this is a spy series over on Amazon Prime. And it was basically like the pet project for Jennifer Salk, who was the head of Amazon MGM, but she recently left her position. Now she's got a producing deal, a first look deal with Amazon MGM, but she's no longer in charge. So there's questions being raised about the future of the Citadel franchise, which of course focuses primarily on Priyanka Chopra Jonas and Richard Madden's characters running this fictional Citadel agency. It's kind of like almost like James Bond, because they even have like their own like rival agency that's the bad guys. I forget the name of that agency.
There's always a rival agency.
Yeah, but the Russo brothers were the executive producers behind the first season of the show, which took like 5 years to make. Now the second season is currently in production, but they also have made some spin-offs, because this was meant to be like a franchise that's global for Amazon. So they made an Indian and an Italian spin-off who both have had 1 season apiece. But now that Jennifer Salk is no longer around to basically champion this was, like I said, it was her pet project pretty much. Do you think like they're gonna continue to greenlight more of these shows? Because the ratings for them were good, but they weren't anything mind-blowingly amazing, especially for the amount of money. Like it cost like $200 million for the first season, and the ratings weren't enough to, in a usual environment, get a second season. But except, I suppose, because Jennifer Salk, the leader, the head of the whole company, was the one like pushing this, they got a second season for the main show. Do you think it goes beyond that, given that she's no longer around?
I don't think Amazon really cares, quite frankly. I think it's very much like Apple TV Plus, where they're actually losing money on all of these productions, but they have so much revenue from all of the other things that they put out into the world. I think it's the same thing with Amazon. They're like, as long as people are going to still watch it, we're going to keep making it until it just doesn't make sense for us to do so. So I don't really think they give a shit one way or the other now that they've got these other spin-off productions. And again, it's probably going to help them now that they've got this Bond contract and they're going to be starting projects with Bond. They probably want to keep the whole spy game, agency game thing going, to just at the very least to help that. And who knows, maybe they'll cut the cord on it once their Bond bullshit comes out. But I really don't think it matters one way or the other to them, because this is not the way that they make their mainstream of revenue. So I don't think they care.
Well, I think they do want it to be eventually profitable, because that's why they added a new tier on Amazon Prime Video now, where you have to pay extra to not get ads. Like there's another like $4 add-on or something.
I mean, but every streaming service is doing that. So
well, yeah, no, true. But I mean, to a certain degree, it's direct. They want to make money. That's why they're doing that. Otherwise, they would be giving it to you for the same amount of money. Now, having said that, this series, the Citadel, the main Citadel show, not the spin-offs. The spin-offs, we don't have any idea when the second season will be greenlit. But the main Citadel show with Priyanka Chopra Jonas and Richard Madden, the second season was supposed to come out later this year, but now it's also gotten pushed back to early 2026. So that also might still have cost overruns after the first season cost them $200 million. So I, unlike you, kind of think that given that they now have James Bond, I don't think they have any reason to keep this thing around. Not without Jennifer Salk.
Like I said, they'll probably keep it around until the Bond stuff starts to come out. If at the very least.
But like, I mean, if the next season comes out in 2026, by then they probably have something up and running, at least in production for Bond. So at that point, I'd be like, okay, cut the cord on this one and just move on. Like, cut your losses. Maybe bring some of these actors over to the James Bond franchise. Maybe even cast Richard Madden as James Bond. Who knows? I'm just saying. But with that, let's move on to the next story. This one is a little more personal to me, because I'm of course from Pakistan originally. So whenever I see a story that represents, I will bring it to the fore. Like we talked about, Liz, your producer friend, had a couple of movies, Candlewood, and there was another project we talked about. Well, today, similarly, I want to talk about a Pakistani horror film called Dimak that's set to haunt theaters and now has a trailer that has been unveiled. I'm not a big horror movie fan, so still don't know if I'd want to watch this myself per se. But the Pakistani cinema is not really known for its horror, but I suppose this is one that's designed to
That's interesting, yeah.
The production quality and just the representation for that genre in Pakistan. So Deemak is meant to be like sort of almost like, I think it translates to like it's this sort of like parasite that kind of like grows and eats concrete almost like. So
okay.
I suppose what's the word for that? Like termites maybe.
Okay.
So yeah, it's gonna be creepy. I mean, if you go off that image, is this something that you would potentially check out if it were to come out in the US?
I don't watch American horror films. Like,
Fair enough.
It being in another language doesn't exactly add to its appeal. No, I mean, good for them. It is really cool. Like I mean, I remember the very first time that like I heard them like heavily swearing in one of these films, and I like texted you immediately. I was like, oh my god, they're like using the F word and da. Like it is kind of so it is kind of unheard of for them to kind of pivot into this genre, because I think they try to stick with like a more positive stories and uplifting stories. I mean, even their action stories like usually have like a romance behind it, or like almost like Punisher vibes where they're like avenging their like fallen like brother or wife or something. So so for them to branch out into something like this is pretty wild.
Yeah, and you know what? Bollywood has always had a big presence, and well, not always, but in the past decade and a half has a big presence in the horror genre. Now Pakistan, of course, is like kind of adjacent to Bollywood, but the Pakistani cinema like not known for horror. But I'm excited that this movie could potentially
it's wild.
leave a mark, because horror fans will watch as much horror movies as they can get their hands on. So if this is good, then you don't have to necessarily you have seen anything else from Pakistani horror, but like you can go and check it out. Like, and there you go. Deemak is going to be coming out soon. It's got a new trailer out, so do go see it if you want to. But moving on to the next story, Bill Murray has recently said that he regrets having not worked with Clint Eastwood. It's one of the few regrets I have, according to a quote from Bill Murray. Now, he turned down a role.
Which means next year we'll see Bill Murray and Clint Eastwood in a project together.
Well, no, but like Clint Eastwood is retired now officially from directing after making his last movie. But I mean, Bill Murray and Clint Eastwood at one point were gonna work together, but Murray turned down a project with the director. It was meant to be a military movies in the 80s, because basically Bill Murray at the time was afraid that he was gonna get typecast. So, I mean, do you think this is one of the, like, can you relate to that experience where, like, again, this could have been potentially a great collaboration, one of the great actors of our generation, of his generation, I should say, and then Clint Eastwood, one of the greatest directors of all time, and he's now saying like, I wish I could have worked on a movie with him while he was still making.
I mean, hindsight is 20/20. I'm sure there are a lot of actors out there that Bill regrets not being able to do some things with, but we also know that Bill has a very infamous way of being contacted and signing on to projects. So
I don't think Clint Eastwood has the patience.
There could have been other opportunities down the line that he just didn't pick up the phone for as well. So, again, I think a lot of actors do this. They go back and they reflect on their career and they think, oh, there's that one person that I still never got a chance to do anything with. Yeah, it comes to us all. There are plenty of, when I die, I'm not going to have visited every country on this planet. I'm not going to have gone to every, so I can understand the sentiment, but it happens.
Well, Clint Eastwood is done directing movies. He's now officially retired. I don't think he's one of those people who's going to be like, oh no, I was just kidding. So, hey.
I mean, Bill might get a chance to work with his son, so there you go. That's something.
He did. And well, I'm sure, they'll get a chance to meet a few more times while we still have them. So Bill Murray and Clint Eastwood, two legends of the screen, both in front and behind the screen. Moving on to the next story, Ryan Coogler has said that fans will not have to wait very long for Black Panther 3, because Denzel Washington will, apparently he's confirming, is going to be a part of it. His deal isn't finalized yet, but according to Coogler, as long as he's interested, is going to happen. So, Liz,
how many times are they going to tell us the exact same thing? I think we've talked about this 10 times, and they just keep saying the exact same thing. Yes, Denzel's gonna be a part of it, but we haven't finalized anything. Yes, he's gonna be a part of it, but well, then fucking sign the deal and shut up. Like, why? Like, I don't understand. Like, I could give a flying fuck if Denzel's a part of this at all, but it's like, just stop. Like, you're saying the exact same thing. You've been saying the exact same thing for 6 months. So he's a part of it. Then sign the deal. Why do we keep hearing that? Well, it's gonna happen. Well, I think I don't want to hear a word from you again until it happens. This is the dumbest.
I wouldn't
so
blame.
Annoying.
But here's the thing, though. I don't blame Ryan Coogler, right? He's promoting Sinners. He goes on the Shannon Sharp show, and then he asks him about it, because of course he will. Like, hey, if we heard that Denzel Washington is gonna be a part of this, is he? And so then he has to answer the question, and obviously, some repetition is involved. But I wouldn't mind seeing him. I just don't know what role he's gonna play. Now,
I don't care.
Okay,
I don't care.
Liz, the next story, I just wanted to kind of quickly go over some of the memes because I found them hilarious.
Oh, they're great. They're great.
How there was a 5.5-hour feed of the Avengers Doomsday cast reveal, which ultimately ended up still potentially not revealing everybody from the movie, but like just the people on the internet just went crazy with it. I love the memes. This one got to me because I'm like, I love Saving Private Ryan. And I was like, this clip, okay, this was me, like, I understood that reference. That's like in Captain America stuff. Like, he gets old. Andy Serkis will return as Gollum in Avengers Doomsday. I saw a DC account posted Doomsday will return in Avengers Doomsday. Not like Doctor Doom, but like Doomsday, the monster that they fight in BVS.
Yeah. I love it.
Jennifer Coolidge will return as Tanya from the White Lotus in Avengers.
Anything could happen. Again, we're dealing with the multiverse. We're dealing with variants. Anything is possible.
I also saw the Empire State Building posted a photo saying the Empire State Building will return in Avengers Doomsday.
You know what? I guarantee you it will. I guarantee you it will.
And he wouldn't even get any royalties for it, probably.
I bet you. Did Conan O'Brien make this one? I bet you he did. I love it.
This from Empire Magazine. The Sandworm from Dune. Greg Turkington will not return as Dale in Avengers Doom. I'm so glad. I did not want to see that guy again. Sorry, man.
Oh no.
This picture says different. Well, this is hilarious. These aren't even all of them. I've seen like a million other ones. This was fantastic. Speaking of fantastic, Alan Cumming has now been officially announced as returning in the movie Avengers Doomsday as Nightcrawler. And well, I don't know if he's going to be, scaling walls in the movie. But
he's going to do his best. He'll do his best.
Never say never.
I mean, he is up in years now, but God bless him if he's going to put up with putting that face paint on again for 500 hours.
Or maybe they'll CGI it. Who knows? But hey, Ted Lasso. Liz, we know now Ted Lasso is getting a new season, and apparently for season 4, they're searching for a new actor to play Jason Sudeikis' son. Is this something that surprises you? Do you think they're going to age him up a bit?
Because the point, the reason they're doing that is his son is going to be playing soccer. He's going to be a soccer player himself. He's going to be excelling, moving forward with his soccer career in school and potentially, trying to become a pro. So they're looking for an actor who can actually play soccer to some degree. So that's why they're doing that. It's nothing with that particular actor. It's just that he doesn't have the skill set that they're looking for in that regard. So that's the only reason they're doing it.
So basically what you're telling me. Yeah, so basically what you're telling me is they're looking for somebody who can do his own stunt.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I'm down for that. Let's see who they cast. Oscar winner Mikey Madison from, of course, Anora, where she won had quite a bit of acclaim and an Oscar for it. And she's of course been, in the Scream franchise. Reportedly, now she's been offered a role in Zach Krieger's upcoming Resident Evil movie. Just last week, of course, Austin Abrams of The Walking Dead and Euphoria fame was also, set to be joining the movie in a leading role. So, Liz, do you think this might be a good fit for Mikey Madison here?
I mean, when I heard the news, I'm like, shit. I mean, she looks just like Mila, so it makes sense. Like, she's a perfect replacement for the next generation. Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. And she can do it. She's a good, she's a good actress. She got a little action in. There was a couple fight things going on in Anora. So yeah, I'm for it. Good for her.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see. It's not confirmed yet, but if it is, I'm sure we'll talk about it on the next set of Quick Hits. All right, so the last Quick Hit for the day, Sonic 4, and now we know The Legend of Zelda, when it's coming out in March 26 to 2027. That's around the time that Sonic 4 is also set to come out. So it looks like both Sonic 4 and The Legend of Zelda movies are going to be releasing in March of 2027. just a week apart from
I think
each
they
other.
should release the same day. Let's have another like Barbenheimer situation. They should come out the exact same time.
What would you call that? Would it be like Zelnick?
The Legend of Sonic, or
the Legend of Sonic?
Yeah.
No, that's
No.
confusing. Maybe it's like Zelnick or Sonda. I don't know. That's the Legend of
Sonda's alright.
Sonda.
I don't know.
Maybe Sonda.
But
Guys,
yeah,
let us know in the
cool.
comments.
I'm
How
looking
would
forward
you-
to it.
But I mean, a week apart is not bad at all. But like, it's in March. I hope that plenty of people go see both of these movies because one of them is
They're
animated,
gonna
the
make
other one's live
so
action.
much money, please. They're
So-
gonna make so much money. So much money. So
I can't
much
wait.
money.
I
And good
cannot
for
wait.
them. Good
You know,
for James
Fiona and
Marsden.
Zelda,
Good
Fiona
for
and-
him.
I don't know if I can take Zelda. Can I take Zelda to the movies?
No.
we can. I don't
You
know. We'll have
can't.
to- maybe we'll do like a
You
drive-in viewing so that we can bring Zelda along to watch a live-action Legend of Zelda movie. Because
She's
Fiona and
just
I will
gonna
probably be
snooze.
there.
She's
on, like,
gonna
the
get comfortable
opening
and take
day.
a snooze. She could give a fuck. She could give a fuck.
Well, guys, let us know in the comments down below what you think about all of those quick hits. You know, there's a lot of things we talked about. I'm not going to list them out for you because I quite frankly don't remember every single one we talked about. But of course, there's Avengers Doomsday. There's stuff from the CinemaCon we talked about earlier in the news section. Let us know what you think about any of those stories down below in the comments. Hit the like button while you're at it, and the notification bell, and hit subscribe if you're not subscribed right now. What are you doing? We're here 5 days a week talking about the movies. So Liz, now we have to move on to the next part of the show, and we're gonna get into the movie reviews of the week. So let's start with what I think might be one of the best movies of the year, and I'm very biased in that opinion. But as you can tell, I am so giddy. Even though I haven't seen this movie yet, I cannot wait for Liz to tell me all kinds of glowing things about it. So, of course, Jason Statham has now signed on to this new franchise, which apparently is based on a series of books where there's at least a dozen of them right now, and there might be more along the way. David Ayer, who worked with him on The Beekeeper and the upcoming Beekeeper 2, pairs up with Jason Statham in the latest iteration of Jason Statham Kicks Your Ass. A Working Man. Was it as good as it advertised, Liz? Please tell us about it.
Listen, best movie of the year, it is not. Best Jason Statham movie, it is not. But it is entertaining, and it does set it sets the tone. And even I will say, even at the end of the film, you could kind of get the sense that we're gonna get another one. So I did not realize that it was based on a book series initially, but it makes perfect sense to me in how they ended it. But again, it's a Jason Statham film, gang. So he has a past. He was a former soldier. He's got this particular set of skills. And he ends up in a situation working on this construction site for this family. The head of Michael Pena is the head of, and their daughter ends up in trouble. She gets kidnapped while she's out with a night of friends. They come to him. They say, "Can you please help us? We know that you've got some skills. We know you can do things outside of law enforcement. Law enforcement doesn't really seem to be helping us too much. They already told us we really don't have a chance of getting her back." He initially turns them down because, you know, he has a daughter at home that he's trying to keep out of danger. He's, you know, and she's living with her grandfather right now. He doesn't want to do anything to jeopardize his, you know, little bit of custody that he has, the little time he gets to see her as it is. So he wants no part of this. But the more and more he keeps thinking about it, it's eating away at him. He knows he can do something. He knows he can make a difference. Well, gosh darn it, I'm just going to have to go and save the girl after all. And that's what he does. So he goes and he visits his buddy, played by David Harbour. For some reason, I can never remember his fucking name, even though he's in everything. He goes and visits David Harbour. He gets geared up. He goes out there and he does his damn thing, and he just beats the living shit out of everybody until he finally finds the girl. But I will say, she is no damsel in distress herself. Her grandfather was a Green Beret and taught her a couple of moves. So don't think that you're going to see a woman getting beat up every so often in this film. That is not the situation at all. She can hold her own, and she gives as good as she gets. So that's a kind of nice little refreshing twist on a film like this. But again, nothing significant to write home about. Again, you know, the script wasn't anything groundbreaking. The action sequences were great. Again, a lot of shooting, a lot of blood, a lot of stabbings, a lot of murder, a lot of bones breaking, a lot of tussling going on. and I'm here for it, gang. It was exactly what you wanted, and the fact that there's going to be more of these films, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. But again, I feel like with movies like this, you know what you're getting yourself into. There really, there really are no more expectations outside of what you see on the trailer. And it delivers in that sense. So if you enjoy films like this, if you enjoy watching people just being stabbed and throat slit and bones breaking and all kinds of, and some dumb banter back and forth, this is for you. That's all I can say.
It to me, this looks like exactly the kind of movie I would just want to go and watch just so I can turn my brain off for a bit and enjoy some dumb action. And my question to you would be, was the fight choreography fun? Like, did it feel like you were bored by the action, or was the action like the best part of the movie?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty that's the only thing that kept it going, really. Okay, it was the best part for sure.
I'm like, action is great. I don't know. I do not need Jason Statham to act his way through a movie. I just need him to beat people his way through the movie. That's
what he does, and it's fabulous. And at one point, when he's reunited with his daughter, he's got some visible signs of being in battle, and she said, "Oh, is your face okay?" So, "Oh, I cut myself shaving." Like, all right, I
cut myself shaving.
What more can you ask for? If you like them, check them out. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next couple of films. If there are going to be more than that, fantastic. I'm here for it.
I just love
and hopefully we'll get to see. Hopefully we'll get to see David Harbour in some action as well, because again, they're military buddies, and David Harbour certainly has an arsenal behind him. So, we'll see what happens. Get some action going there.
I love
a blind guy shooting the shit out of everybody. It's great.
I love the headline here on Deadline. It says, Jason Statham's working man with 15 million plus opening puts Snow White to sleep and sends Jenna Ortega's unicorn out to pasture.
Well,
which looks amazing.
Let's talk about the unicorn.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second, but I just want to quickly revel in the idea that, hey, David Harbour is just having a time of his life right now. Having fun with everything he does, whether it's Creature Commandos with Frankenstein's monster,
he makes good decisions, gang.
He's in Thunderbolts as Red Guardian. He might be the best part of that movie, and it looks like he was just as enjoyable to watch in A Working Man. Guys, this has been the biggest movie of this past weekend. Of course, Minecraft comes out this upcoming weekend. So, did you go see it? Let us know down in the comments below. What did you think about A Working Man? Is this a movie that you're not more interested in seeing, given that Lizz has given it her seal of approval? And then, of course, while you're at it, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button as well, so that you know when we go live. We'll be talking about movie reviews pretty much each and every week, as we are here. So be sure to come back to us, and we'll give you our latest thoughts on A Working Man, and probably the 11, 12 other movies in this franchise that I hope are spawned from this very first one. All right, so moving on to the next movie of the week, Death of a Unicorn. Jenna Ortega, Paul Rudd. I have seen the trailers. I have not seen the movie myself, but I didn't have to because Liz went and did it for me. So now I can hear Liz talk about it. So Liz, I want to bring you in. I have a question for you. Did this movie break any new ground? Because I know John went and saw it. Now John's not on the show today, but he was like, I've seen pretty much everything in this movie. Like he said that everything in this movie he has seen somewhere else before. Like, it doesn't really do anything new that you haven't seen in a better movie. So given that's what John said, like, do you agree, or do you think this movie did give you something that you haven't seen before?
No, I would say that was fair. I mean, quite frankly, any adult movie about a unicorn is always about them like somehow trying to like steal the magical mystical powers. I mean, even in Harry Potter, the same thing where just drinking the blood of unicorns and stuff. So it's definitely that's really loud. Anyway, I would say it's original in the sense that they've made an entire film around the concept, but the concept itself is not very original, because again, we know the mythology behind unicorns, and that supposedly they have healing powers, supposedly they live forever, they're this mystical entity, and all this kind of thing. But they do delve a little further into the history of unicorns. They refer to the unicorn tapestries at the cloisters in New York, for example, and talk about how there's actually some tapestries that are missing that don't give you the full story, that unicorns can't actually be killed, they can't actually be tamed or contained, and if you were to go after one, this is basically what's going to happen to you. And we fuck around and find out in this film as well. Again, John, and he'll talk more about it tomorrow probably, but he told us he absolutely hated everything about it. I didn't hate it. It was entertaining for what it was. But again, you go in knowing it's a movie about Paul Rudd hitting the unicorn with his car and chaos ensues. I mean, he goes to this affluent, extremely wealthy family, tells them what he did, finds out that there is in fact healing powers from this unicorn's blood or dander or just, chemistry. And of course they try to exploit that and they try to market it, and they,
what else could go wrong?
Yeah, well, the patriarch of their family is near death. He has an incurable cancer and he's slowly withering away. That's the whole reason Paul Rudd's character is out there with his daughter, because he is trying to be the lawyer for this guy's, final plans, resting plans, and create his will and put everything together to help his family and his business continue on after he dies. And again, so they, pull in all of their scientists and work on, formulating, a cure from the unicorn's blood, from the dust of the horn. And lo and behold, the patriarch of the family ends up miraculously healed. He feels better than ever. And now let's figure out how we can monetize the shit out of this. All the while we've got some, the unicorn's family rabidly trying to attack us and killing everyone in sight. So again, chaos ensues. I will say though, John had talked about the pacing. He had talked about the script and that kind of thing when he had talked to us privately about it. For me, it was weird because I felt like the tone was very much like that of a children's movie, but then they put the horror film element, and because there was a lot of blood and gore, there was entrails being spilled, there was, a lot of violence, a lot of there was a couple jump scares. And as I was leaving the movie theater, there was actually a family that had seen it, and their son was maybe about 12 years old, and he said that was like a Goosebumps movie for adults. And quite frankly, that's the best way that I can describe it to you, because even
like
his mother was like,
with an A24 twist on it.
And even his mother was like, yeah, that was much more gory than I thought it would be. And I'm also thinking to myself, did you not see the trailer? But okay. And I'm not sure, what is it rated? Is it rated? I don't know if it says on here. Is it rated?
I'm pretty sure this is rated R. I think it's rated
okay.
R.
It would make sense because of all the blood and gore and guts and what have you.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so horror comedy, it really wasn't that much of a comedy. I will say there was really no like laugh out loud, like yeah, there were some stupid off comments and things like that. They certainly tried to market it as a comedy. But then again, like I said, then they bring in like the kids aspect of it, like Paul Rudd's trying to repair his relationship with his daughter because his wife passed away from cancer, and they're both still trying to like deal with that. So they pull in these sappy elements as well, where they come to like an understanding of like, oh, this is why you're doing this and da-da-da. So it was kind of, it had an identity crisis to be sure, but it was entertaining enough for me. I didn't hate the thing. If it came on again, like on a cable network or something later on down the line, I'd probably watch it or put it on in the background or something. But it certainly wasn't one of those that I'm like going to run and tell all of my friends they need to go out and see. But
so
again,
you recommend
you'll hear
then?
plenty from John tomorrow about it.
But I mean, would you recommend to the average moviegoer? Would you say, like, of all the movies that are in theaters right now, would you say go see this one?
I mean, go see it over Snow White, but I think I enjoyed A Working Man a little more. But again, that's my kind of film. So, I mean, as far as like scripts are concerned, they're both pretty much along the same lines. And again, I will say
wait,
though,
you mean Jenna Ortega goes and beats up a bunch of people in this movie too? Or
No.
no? Okay, all right.
But I will say, and I know John's going to comment about this too. They clearly had like no budget for the special effects, because when they're like up close to the unicorns, especially the one that Paul Rudd hits with his car, it's basically like a shag carpet, like glued to a horse body. I mean, it's they're rough, gang. I mean, tell me you live in the woods without telling me you live in the woods. These fucking unicorns have been through some shit. It's yeah.
I mean,
so. But yeah, just.
I mean, in terms of the ratings, it looks like it's the same situation where the critics, much like a working man, don't like it so much, but the audiences, for the most part, are enjoying it.
Yeah.
I was surprised that Richard E. Grant, and then also Anthony Carrigan is in this one, of course.
Yeah, and Tia Leone.
Metamorpho.
Yeah.
And yeah, Tia Leone. So they've got the cast like of an A24 movie, but yeah. It like you said, it looks like it's a bit of a mismatch.
And I mean, quite frankly, I feel like it is a typical A24 movie. You know what I mean? Like, I think they make shit purely for entertainment, and it's, you know, sometimes it's hit or miss, but they're not out here trying to, you know, put together some kind of Scorsese production or anything. You know what I mean? So
that sounds good to me. I mean, hey, look, A Death of a Unicorn, to me, that would be like, you know, if Jason Statham passed away, I would call that The Death of a Unicorn. So I hope that never happens. But this movie is in theaters right now, and you guys can go check it out for yourself. Let us know what you think about it. If you have already seen it, then tell us what you thought about it. I'm sure we'll be talking about it again. John saw the movie as well, so we will try to get his opinion on it sometime soon. But in the meantime, guys, let us know in the comments down below what you thought about Death of a Unicorn. Jenna Ortega, Paul Rudd, Richard E. Grant, Tia Leone, Anthony Carrigan. You've also got Adam Warlock in there himself. Why do I keep forgetting his Will Poulter?
Will Poulter, yep.
So, a fantastic cast. Of course, while you're at it, hit the like button if you enjoyed the review. Hit subscribe if you're new, because we do movie reviews each and every week. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live with a new review. So, with that in mind, now we have to move on to what is always the main event of the show. So, we have to talk about DC, guys. So, if you've been hanging around and you want to talk some DC, then here we go. Welcome to another episode of DCU Daily. As always, we have got lots to talk about from the world of DC, DC Comics, DCU, and DC Elseworlds, everything that comes our way from James Gunn and beyond. So the very first thing I'm going to do is bring in Liz. Liz, how are you doing today? Do any of the DC stories that we're going to talk about interest you at all?
No, not really. I mean, you know, it would be cool if Bradley Cooper shows up in Superman. That'd be great.
Oh, that's some foreshadowing right there. All right, we're gonna dive right into it then. Okay, so the first story is, again, on a bit of a somber note. I mean, earlier in this show we talked about a couple of other actors passing away, but this is the latest story here. He's not so much, he wasn't an actor, but he was a very well-known and amazingly talented stunt performer, a stunt coordinator, fight choreographer, and he actually, you know what, along the way he did a little bit of acting himself. Richard Norton passed away recently, and James Gunn posted a very touching tribute on his account, because James Gunn himself worked with him on the Suicide Squad, and Norton, that is, was very well known in the stunt community. So one of his higher profile projects, of course, being the Suicide Squad, amongst many others over the years. It looks like, according to James Gunn, he choreographed the Harley escape scene, the Peacemaker versus Rick Flag Jr. fight, and so much more. He was a tough but sweet Australian dude with a hearty laugh and a million stories about his years making movies. I'd constantly grill him for tales about working on the 90s Hong Kong movies we both love so much, and he was always happy to oblige. Of course, Richard Norton is here in the middle of the shot, and it looks like, you know, he had quite a few years of experience. So yeah, he's no longer with us, but his work will be remembered in all the movies that he was a part of. And as James Gunn is saying there, rest in peace, friend. And yeah, you know, a loss for the industry. I think stuntmen are always just not given enough credit in the movie industry, because the work that they do, like, you know, people want to see a stunt performer category at the Oscars. It's underrated now. It was underrated back in the day when Buster Keaton was doing things. It's underrated, you know, when Tom Cruise is hanging off a freaking plane. But, you know, Richard Norton left his mark on the industry. So, you know, from all of us here, our best wishes and condolences to Richard's family and friends. With that, Liz, let's move on to the next story. The next thing we have to talk about is, well, over the weekend, James Gunn, I think this was on Sunday, he dedicated the day to Batman. He said, for over 85 years, one signal has illuminated Gotham City's sky. today is for Batman. Batman is almost coming up on his 90th anniversary, Liz. If I were to ask you the character of Batman or even Bruce Wayne or any of the other, spinoffs like Robin or any of the other characters from the world of Batman, have they had a big impact on your life as a fan of the movies? Like, are you a big fan of Batman movies? And then also, have you, enjoyed the character? I mean, what do you think about Batman and the impact that he's made in the superhero genre?
I mean, some people are definitely going to give me shit for this in the chat, but I feel like it's almost like Queen Elizabeth, right? Like she's the only queen some people have known for their entire life. Like I feel like the bat symbol, and same thing, Superman's S, like those icons have been with me my entire life, regardless of whether or not I'm a fan or not. I know exactly what they are when I see them. I'm familiar with the characters and their backstories. Again, just kind of through word of mouth, just through, the culture, through the ethos, through the shared, storytelling, all the different iterations, the different versions. I think that is a kind of a really powerful thing to be able to say, like, you've been with, I mean, it's been around longer than I've been alive, and it's going to continue to be around even after I'm gone. And that's pretty powerful. That's something special, to be sure.
Yeah, I mean, Batman is, one of those handful of characters that I think is almost universally known. Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, like these are characters that everybody knows. Wonder Woman, like they're so fundamental to the genre of not just superheroes that transcend the superhero genre. They're like our modern day mythology, really, in many ways. And that's why we love superhero movies so much, because they are kind of in that way, like the Odyssey of our day, right? Like we're getting the Odyssey as a movie from Christopher Nolan, but I'm like, he also happens to have directed a Dark Knight trilogy, so that's kind of fitting. And I guess in that way, he sort of knows how to operate in that genre in a way, even though one might not think the Odyssey and Superman, Batman have very much in common. I like to think that both, are kind of mythologies and like the legends of their time. Now, with that said, we have to talk about Superman. Superman, as we talked about at the beginning of the show today, is probably the movie with the most pressure to succeed, because an entire studio's future, that is Warner Brothers Discovery, depends on it succeeding. So for DC Studios coming out the gate with their very first movie being Superman, there's a lot of pressure. And so because of that, we always end up with something to talk about each and every day, because whether it's some breaking news from James Gunn, him responding to a comment, an official announcement, a new trailer, or even if it is just rumors and new artwork, that's what we have to bring you. So today, that is exactly what we have to talk about. There's some artwork that was put out there. One of the pieces is on the thumbnail for this video, so I'm sure you saw that. And then there's a few more rumors that have been going and circulating on the internet. So we have to talk about that for DC's Man of Steel with David Cornsweet in the role now. So Liz, throughout history, Jor-El on the big screen has been played by the cream of the crop. You've had Marlon Brando for the Christopher Reeve movies playing Jor-El, Superman's Kryptonian father, to Russell Crowe and Henry Cavill's Man of Steel playing, the Kryptonian father for Superman. And now there's a rumor going around from Viewer and On, so take it with a big grain of salt, because we really don't know if this is confirmed, because the Insider was reporting it could also be Tom Cruise recently. We don't know for sure, because again, they're saying speculatively that there's a big surprise cameo in the new Superman movie that nobody really knows about, but they're guessing at who the actors are. Now, Tom Cruise I mentioned, but the other big name is Bradley Cooper. I was going to say Robert Cooper. I don't even know who that is. Actually, I know who that is. He's a TV producer. Bradley Cooper, the other A-lister in the conversation. And according to Viewer and On, he's already been cast as Jor-El and Superman. So Liz, what are your thoughts on this? Do you believe this? I know Bradley Cooper he's not made a comment on this. Like, you remember there was a time when he said that he was not going to be in the A-Team movie, but then he was. So I suppose even if he said something, like, I'm not in there, like, do we really believe him? But like, what are your thoughts? He was, of course, in the MCU as Rocket Raccoon. He might be coming back at some point with that. But
I mean, clearly he has a relationship with James, already, again, being Rocket, like you said. So absolutely. I don't see why not. It's perfectly plausible to me, and I welcome it. I would be perfectly happy with that. I keep like forgetting it would be a flashback. It would be part of the origin story. And I'm like, he doesn't look old enough to play. Well, obviously Superman would be a baby at the time. So I think it would be perfectly fine. And I'd love to see it if that's the case.
And I love the photo that they picked out here, because it looks very much like the Russell Crowe version with like the full beard and the hair. And like you said, because James Gunn did mention this, because he said, look, not that I have cast him for this movie, but if I were to, I would want to have Jor-El be the same age that he were when he had, first Superman was first born, Clark Kent,
right,
or Kal-El by his Kryptonian name was first born. So he would want to cast somebody who kind of can pull off somebody in their 30s or maybe 40s. And clearly Bradley Cooper can pull that off. The man's got the look and, well, the facial hair to boot. So if it is true, then I would be excited for this, because this would be amazing. I mean, guys, I don't know. We've talked about Tom Cruise. Let us know down below in the comments what you think. Do you believe these rumors? Do you think this is actually true? Is it more likely to be Tom Cruise because he's also on the Warner Brothers lot these days? But Bradley Cooper, he's got a pre-existing relationship with James Gunn, so I'm sure this, especially like you said, Liz, if it's like a small part where he just kind of is in a few flashbacks,
right? Yeah.
Why not? Like, why not? He's not busy playing Rocket Raccoon these days. I mean,
right.
So unless he's chasing another Oscar with some kind of big artsy fartsy movie. But hey, why not just go get paid a few $1 million for a couple of days on set and play Jor-El? I mean, also to be put in the same sentence as Marlon Brando and Russell Crowe. I mean, honestly, like just for that reason alone, I would be like, you know what, sign me up. I'm game. So
it's not bad company to be in. That's for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, now talking about Superman and continuing to talk about Superman, McFarlane Toys recently, said that they'll be announcing new Superman movie figures soon. So we know the movie comes out in July 11th of this year. We've already seen some Superman merchandise and toys kind of hit the store, or some like early photos. So are you excited for McFarlane Toys to basically, be the ones giving us some Superman movie figures? Because we know, we've talked about this recently. I think it's Mattel is going to take over DC's, action figures after this. So this will be one of the last few projects where McFarlane Toys gets to have a crack at it. Is this something that you're excited about? Are you even a fan of these action figures when they come out?
No, I've never really cared for McFarlane Toys. I think actually for me, like I understand the appeal. For me, they're a little like too realistic, and I just don't care for their look and their styling, the way that they put these toys together. I know in some of the comments, some people did not like the fact that he had interchangeable hands. They thought it was really creepy, but that is actually a classic thing with McFarlane Toys, so that doesn't surprise me at all. Sometimes they have interchangeable heads, so this is just par for the course with them.
It's functional, it's versatile.
But yeah, I mean, listen, everybody's gonna try and make money off this movie, so go ahead. I hope they get a big bag, but for me, I have no interest. No.
All right. Well, I personally would be interested in seeing just the designs alone, because sometimes from the toys you can kind of get a good idea of what will be in the movie, because oftentimes that comes out before the movie comes out. So, I mean, not that it means what's on what the toys look like will be what's in the movies, because these plans are put into motion well before the final cut for the movie's done. So they might cut out a character that is in the toys, or there might be some kind of, element like a prop that ends up not being in the movie that is in the toy set. So it's not always accurate. We've seen many examples of that. But hey, McFarlane Toys, they will be announcing some new Superman movie figures soon. I can't wait for those to come out. Now, all right, now continuing on with the Superman conversation. Some new promotional artwork has appeared online ahead of, again, this week Comic-Con is going on. Tomorrow, Warner Brothers makes his presentation, where I'm sure Superman will take center stage.
CinemaCon.
Sorry, CinemaCon, I should say. It's right there on the screen. CinemaCon.
Just came from Comic-Con.
Yes. So, Liz, you look at these new works of art, like all this artwork, it looks like this is for either products or something else, because these aren't posters.
Gorgeous.
It looks nice. I like the logo.
It harkens back to the Christopher Reeves, days. I mean, it's very classic. It's really well done. It's polished. It's very. I mean, there was that right there. Holy shit! Like, you want to talk about the shot? That's the shot. That's great. And it's even got the bulge highlighted in there for you, so that's nice. Good job, Dan.
I just noticed that bulge is bulging. The bulge is bulging, guys.
Can't escape.
Long live the bulge, Mark.
Hey, good for David.
I just.
But again, it does. It's very reminiscent of the Christopher Reeves era. It's very classic. It's crisp. I love him. I think it's great, even with the presence of the bulge. Now it makes me want to go back to the Christopher Reeves shots and see, is his bulge present. And now, I'm gonna have to just do a Google image quick real here. You guys, we'll do this in real time.
Here's what I'll say. At every moment, at every turn, they have a choice. they can easily fudge it up and like
just
go into
smooth
Photoshop
that part out. Yeah.
Like not just even smooth it. There's like a pucker tool, like literally there's a tool called a pucker tool where you can just click and drag it so it's not bulging quite as much. We could just
tuck that. I mean, we could just bob it off. It don't even. No one needs to know.
You know, like tuck it like a drag queen, but like they don't do it.
Hey, but you know what? Good for him. Good for him. Good for him.
Good for David. Good for Superman. Good for Clark. Good for Lois Lane, I suppose.
Hey.
And I like this one here. It's got the pose, which looks a little janky to me. The pose, I don't know if I'm really a fan of that pose. I don't know, but I like the word. The type treatment here is fantastic. Look up, which is the tagline that the poster had that they released a few months ago. So I'm excited about that. This all of this looks fantastic, actually. And all of this artwork is now on the internet. People are going crazy about it. They're doing other fan versions of it. There's some new toys. There's dog toys with Superman coming. I'm probably gonna get some of these for Zelda.
There's dog toys. What a surprise!
And you've got like these things that your favorite doggy can chew on and play with. I'm sure there's a squeaker in there somewhere. Yeah, I like it. This looks fantastic. This is my favorite part, especially the bulge now. I'm like, come on. It's not even like they're trying to hide it at this point. I mean, we were speculating.
I can confirm so far in the images that I am pulling up, there is no bulge present.
We lived in a much more wholesome time back in the 70s.
I mean, if he was tucked, they tucked him real good. Is all I'm
like. Look at this here. It's even more obvious. They added like texturing on it. Now it's like, it's right there. Oh my God. I didn't even, you know what? Like legit, I did not realize it was that obvious
David.
Until we just showed it here.
Good for David. Bless him.
Oh God. The Summer of Superman. Okay, look, I love this one. This looks fantastic. Just clean. The lines are great. The drop shadow isn't that distracting. Yeah. The bulge. The bulge is bulging, guys. The bulge is bulging. As Marco said, long live the bulge.
Good for you, Dave. Good.
It looks like James Gunn and David Cornsweet understood the assignment. So there you go. All right. The last thing I wanted to talk about with Superman today is basically there was this like event, I guess you want to call it that. And at this event there was a luncheon, and you can see there, Adam Aaron, who's the CEO of AMC Theaters. He had lunch with David Cornsweet. I don't know if this was an event or if they just ran into each other. It probably is one or the other. You guys let me know in the chat. And it looks like Adam Aaron was asked and he said, look, Superman will be a memorable depiction. So obviously he's excited about it. The reason I bring this up is not so much for that reason. I think this comment here on Threads from Comic Cuts makes a good point, because AMC Theaters are the biggest movie distributor in the world. Like they're the biggest movie theater chain. So for them to, cozying up to David Cornsweet tells me that obviously they're excited about this movie. They're going to give it the big movie treatment. And the comment here on Threads, I think, points out something really, really crucial. The movie launches in July, and that's the same month when you see Fantastic Four: The First Steps, which releases only 2 weeks after Superman. And then Fantastic Four: First Steps, and then Jurassic World Rebirth comes out, I believe, a week before Superman. Yep. So, and then somewhere along the way, I think there's Smurfs, and then there's another movie that I keep forgetting, but there's like at least 4 big movies that month. So with all of these movies, Liz, I was talking to you about this before the show. Movie theaters have a limited amount of screens and then, merchandise stands and stuff. So one has to wonder, in a month when you have all of these huge movies packed, all of whom will have merchandise and all kinds of promotional material, but then all of them will want the premium screen space, meaning they will all want to have the IMAX screens. They'll all want to have the Dolby Prime screens. So do you think Superman will get priority on the IMAX and Dolby Prime screens for as much time as possible? Because it's going to have, like I said, they're going to have Fantastic Four 2 weeks after it comes out and Jurassic World just the week before. So do you think Superman gets all the screens that it needs to really be properly successful, or will Disney and Universal kind of jostle their way so that they can get their movies on those bigger premium formats and Superman isn't getting as much of that business? What are your thoughts?
I mean, you get what you pay for. So it's one lunch is certainly not going to secure a good slot in a Dolby theater, in an IMAX theater. These studios pay for that time. Again, we always go back to that classic story of, Tom Cruise was really pissed off because Mission Impossible was only being shown in the Dolby theater for a week when it was released because another studio had already called dibs on it and gotten there first. So it's the same thing. I mean, I was talking to Dan that I was a little perplexed why this story even came out because, quite frankly, at the end of the day, movie theaters have no say in how films are marketed or how they promote it. Like they can't just go rogue and go all in for Superman. They are sent the materials from the studios. They're told what time they can be put up. They're told what time they need to be taken down. Same thing with the promo items, their popcorn buckets, the soda cups, any toys, any potential giveaways that they might have for opening night. All of those are strategically laid out as far as when they can put them out, when they can release them, when they can start selling them. So a lunch does not a deal make, and certainly, quite frankly, does not a difference make, because at the end of the day, they're just beholden to what they're told and what they've agreed to do for each studio. So it's interesting that I think this is really just them just trying to again market it to say, oh, we've by sitting down to lunch with David, we've got the backing of AMC theaters. They were going to promote your shit anyway because that's what you pay them to do. And you send.
I mean,
them
they also
these
have
items.
a vested interest, right? Like the more movies,
sure. I mean,
the more
everybody
money
does.
Superman makes, the more money
Right.
AMC will make off Superman. So,
well, they only make money at concessions. Let's be fair. They make money at concessions, and then with whatever tchotchkes they're hawking these days, they don't get anything from ticket sales whatsoever. And then especially now, I mean, they have, if anything, they get more money from their rewards programs because that's directly through them, but they have to get a cut of those to the studios
movie
as well.
Theaters
so,
get 30 to 40% of the cut from the box office.
That's not true. But at the end, but again, like I said, at the end of the day, it's what the studio is willing to pay and what the studio is willing to put out there. So, stories like these always kind of make me laugh because I'm like, him having lunch with a movie star, that's just them. They're schmoozing for, quite frankly, for no reason, because the movie theaters are again, they get sent the materials. They're told, have these posters up by this date, take them down by this date. Some theaters may have a say with how long they're willing to keep a film going. I know historically, if one movie is a flop, it'll be there for a week and then it's gone. But if there's another movie that's still, generating a decent amount of traffic, they'll keep it in there for a while. There's one movie right now that they're still showing that I'm like, the fuck, why are we still, I mean, Captain America was still in theaters up to last week.
Yeah.
So so it's, it's really all a matter of, the more traffic that they can get. So like I predicted last week, Snow White's probably going to be gone by next week, but we'll see what happens, So it's all about, what the studio is willing to put out there and to pay for.
I mean, I just think it's going to be interesting to see, again, which of these movies, of all the 4 big movies coming out that same month, Smurfs, Jurassic World Rebirth, Fantastic Four is the First Steps, and Superman, which of the movies has the most prime real estate? I think the 2-week
And I Know What You Did Last Summer is supposed to be out as well in July. So we'll see. But I think, again, I think we know Jurassic's going to make $1 billion. We know it. We know that. I still think Superman might be close to that, especially internationally. Fantastic Four probably not going to hit the $1 billion mark right away. It may, be kind of like an Endgame kind of thing where it's got to build up a little bit, but it might make those numbers. But for sure, I think my money is on Jurassic and Superman for the month of July.
Yeah. You know what I think they're going to do? Marvel's going to reveal more of a closer connection between Fantastic Four and Avengers Doomsday closer to the movie coming out, and that's gonna give that the big
and again Thunderbolts is gonna give us a little taste ahead of time as well, for sure.
I have a feeling at the end of Thunderbolts they're gonna do the logo and then all the letters are gonna turn and it's gonna become the Avengers. That's probably what the asterisk is. But as far as Superman goes, that 2-week gap between it, as in Superman, and then Fantastic Four, I think is going to be really important, because for those 2 weeks, Superman will have pretty much all the prime real estate in IMAX and Dolby and all the premium formats like 4DX and everything. So I think that's going to be significant. But Liz, before we finish up DCU Daily, you sent me some evidence of Christopher Reeve's bulge or lack thereof. I would say there's a bit of a pouch there.
The lighting there, babe. Yeah.
You can see
Good for
it.
you, Chris.
The bulge is bulging. So
Good
I do
for
see
you,
that,
Chris.
and look at that smile. The man knows what he's talking about. But then this image here, which I think is a better analog to what we were about to see with David Cornsweet, you can tell the bulge was tucked under the belt. Like, you know, they tucked it. They tucked it like a proper drag queen. But then we talk about David Cornsweet's bulge, and I don't think they tucked it one bit.
Again, we could have just smoothed that right out, and like that was a choice. That was a choice.
You've got like the two legs, and then they go in, and then like whoop, there's a bulge.
Oh, I'm seeing it. You don't gotta explain it to me, babe.
It's right there.
In.
It's right there. It's
for
right
you,
there.
Dave.
Just see, it's right there. The bulge is bulging,
for
guys.
You, Dave.
Oh man. All right. Well, you know what,
for
guys?
You, Dan.
I just know that this has become a thing now, so we have to talk about it. And yeah, I will neither confirm nor deny my
interest,
my affability, or I don't know, my or desire for the bulge. But I will say I will be watching Superman when it comes out in the movie theater near you. So guys, let us know what you thought about all those DCU Daily stories. Hit that like button, hit the notification bell. Of course, if you aren't subscribed, hit subscribe. We're here talking about DCU Daily 5 days a week, and that's what we're here to do pretty much every day. Speaking of which, we do always end the show with looking ahead to the movie of the week for next week. Now, we talked about earlier, there was A Working Man, which is out in a movie theater near you right now. You can go see that. You can go see Death of a Unicorn. There's a bunch of other movies. Snow White is still around. And then, if you want to wait a few days, depending on when you're watching this, if you're watching this show as it airs, you're only a couple of days away from a Minecraft movie. So a Minecraft movie has been on the horizon for a little bit of time, and they've put out a few trailers, convincing or otherwise. People have, mixed expectations of the film, to say the least. But Jack Black and Jason Momoa seem to be everywhere talking about this thing. And a Minecraft movie feels like the kind of film which is going to appeal to the kids, to the family crowd. But then, is it actually going to be good? Is it going to have that word of mouth that actually takes it all the way? So Liz, I want to ask you, do you think this movie will surprise us all at the end of the day? Or will this completely, fall flat on his face?
I mean, I'm hoping so. Honestly, it looks like trash to me. I think it looks god awful. But I have played Minecraft, so I do have an understanding of the story and of the world itself. I mean, I'll say I felt that way about the Super Mario Brothers movie, and I actually really ended up enjoying it. So I'm hoping for the same. I hope that it surprises me. I hope it does better than expected. But I mean, at the end of the day, it is a kids movie, and I am gonna have to probably keep reminding myself of that. It's not made for me. And that's okay. Not everything needs to be, but it should be. But it's I think it's not so much. I don't know that it's so much the whole Minecraft aspect. I think I'm very curious about these characters because they look like they were pulled out of the 80s. So I'm kind of interested into what the actual backstory is. You know what I mean?
Is just something.
Yeah. It almost feels like this was the age of Atari, and Jason Momoa was playing a guy, he talks about his whatever, he beat whatever score on Centipede or something. So it almost makes me wonder if they were pulled out of an arcade into this futuristic game that has yet to be invented or something like that. So I'm curious as far as the storyline is concerned. But again, it's for kids. I hope the kids love it. I hope it meets the expectations. It meets the hype. I'm kind of sick and tired of Jack Black. Honestly, I was thinking the other day that he's kind of become our modern day Robin Williams, and that actually kind of makes me a little scared for him because he just seems to be on all the time, and I'm bro, we need to pump the brakes.
There's a new Jumanji movie coming.
Yeah, Jumanji 3 is going to be coming out. So we're going to be seeing a lot more of Jack Black, and it also seems like he just agrees to do anything a studio will pay him to do. So we'll probably get a Kung Fu Panda 5. But hey, again, I'm hoping for the best. I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful for it. It's still going to make more money than Snow White. That's certainly happening.
It's tracking for a better start.
Again, I'll see million. It. I'm certainly looking forward to this more than I was to Snow White. So
yeah, I'm just that looks like the Mega Powers Unite. that whole thing Hulk Hogan
right.
and the Macho Man, and then you got Daniel Brooks back there I don't know.
Hell,
What is going on here?
That face is like, when is Peacemaker 2 gonna start filming? Because
yeah, she's ready for that. She's talking about it.
Like, this is what I got to do in between. Yeah. I don't blame you, girl.
At least she can see one of her co-stars here. She can't do that in Peacemaker. But
right.
By the way, I will say that I love the way Jack Black says Lobo in every interview where they asked about it, because like they're both promoting the movie, and then every time the interviewer gets like that one question at the end of the interview to ask them anything that's not the movie, and they always ask about Lobo, and he's like, yeah, tell us about Lobo. Like he says it like in this weird like sound, which is very Jack Black of him. But yeah, this movie does not have a Rotten Tomatoes rating yet, so we know that they're holding on to the score as long as they can. But it will be interesting. They've got a
we'll see what happens.
cast, and they did a premiere, and it looks like some first initial social media reactions are out. And then the one thing I wanted to kind of quickly point out, though, on a more hearty note, before we finish, Liz, this was in the Hollywood Reporter, and Jack Black was essentially just talking about how the world just needs this movie right now. There's so much violence and war and hatred, and that's what I love about this movie. There's a lot of love in it, and there's a lot of creativity. There's some anger and violence too, but in the end, it's about friendship and working together to make the world a better place. I'm just, Jack Black, if you just wanted to say the word family, you could have said family, like friendship, family. We are a fan of family on this show, and since we are, let's just pay our daily respects to the great, the bald man himself, Vin Diesel.
Your brother never told you never threaten a man's family?
There it is.
Some of the fan reactions so far aren't that bad. It's the Chris Parker said it's an awful lot of fun. It's got the director's signature awkward random humor, and it had him audibly cackling at times. The VFX look impressive, and even if the humans stick out, the biggest faults are in its story and underdeveloped leads. So hey, there you go. There's something to look out for. But he still says overall it's pretty entertaining. And there's a bunch more like this, so you can go on X and find out for yourself. I just think this image is probably going to be on our show thumbnail next week, because this is perfect for a YouTube thumbnail. Like, just mega powers unite, brother. Like, yes. Well,
and again, I don't know about John, but I will be seeing it, so hopefully it's acceptable. That's the bar that I'm setting for it, that it's acceptable. That's
anything above acceptable is wow. That was amazing. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we'll be watching Minecraft, and then we'll be talking about it. And of course, let us know what you think about Minecraft. If you have seen it by now, whenever you're watching this, then let us know in the comments down below what you thought about it. If you got an early screening, then let us know what you thought about it. But if you haven't seen it, are you more excited about it, given that, there's some early reviews out, and they did a premiere for the movie, Jack Black and Lobo. I said Lobo. Jack Black and Jason Momoa. See, it's interchangeable now. It's already there. I'm already there.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. So Jack Black and Jason Momoa. And that also brings me full circle to the same mistake I made at the beginning of the show. But hey, it's going to be a fun movie, hopefully. We'll be talking about it next week. Let us know what you think about it. And if you have been watching the show this whole time, thank you so much. Hit the like button. Hit subscribe if you're new. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of DCU Daily. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live with that episode of DCU Daily. Until then, Liz, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you next time. Another episode of Oh So Curious, as well as DCU Daily. So be sure to stick around. We'll be back tomorrow. More CinemaCon stuff. Warner Brothers presentation. Superman. Oh my God, I'm so excited. See you guys tomorrow on DCU Daily.